problems or questions they feel the board should discuss. Individuals are encouraged to address the full board, not individual board members. The law prohibits the board from taking action on items not on the agenda. Requests to speak cards should be filled out in advance and presented to the superintendent's executive assistant. Instructions for submitting remote public comments can be found on our website, busdk12.com, under the tab Board of Trustees. The board has a policy limiting any speaker to not more than 3 minutes. The board limits the total time for public input on each item or topic to 15 minutes or 5 individual requests to speak. The president may review the submitted request to speak or take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Citizens who have comments on or against a particular issue may be asked to provide a written statement for the record or to sign an agreement with the written comments of another citizen. All names will be memorialized in minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. For the record, please state your name. Do we have any at this time?
None of these this time.
And it is 4:05, and we'll adjourn to closed session.
let you go. There's no way. I'm already so still burning. So hold me close now, baby. I do what I'm told. Still learning to take my chances, to take my time, to keep on dancing, to walk that line. Yeah, you got me shifting the paradigm. No longer wishing
It's 5:07 and we'll call the meeting back to order. In closed session, the board took action to reject the claim of damages for claim number 3110220. The vote was unanimous at 4 ayes and 0 nays. And we're moving into presentations, BHS athletics presentation.
Mr. Williams? You go ahead, presentation.
Well, good afternoon. I'm Vince Williams. I'm the District Athletic Director for Barstow Unified. This is my 5th year as a District AD, 17th year as AD overall, and my 32nd year in education. If you go to the next one. The schools that I oversee are Barstow High School. They're part of the Desert Sky League and the CIS Southern section. We have a total of 20 teams that we field. Barstow Junior High is part of the High Desert Athletic League Association. They're part of the large schools and they have 9 teams that they field. Barstow STEM Academy is part of the High Desert Athletic League. They're just 6 through 8 and they also field 9 schools. I wanted to present to you how we are funded and some of the expenditures that we have. 2 of the ways that we are funded are through student funds. Those are monies that are typically raised through student-led activities like ticket sales for athletic events and managed under the oversight of the school student government. And the other is through general funds, and there are public monies allocated to school districts by the state and used to cover the broad operational expenses of running schools. I'll start with the general funds that we use and the expenditures for them. Most of it is goes into coaching stipends. That's $186,545. We have a total of 78 coaching positions. For Barstow High School, it's $146,571. Barstow Junior High, $23,292. STEM is $16,682. The next one is transportation for athletics. That's travel for student athletes and coaches to and from athletic events and competitions, buses and district-owned vans. For the first semester of last year, it was $68,069. I don't have the numbers for the second semester, but for the year of 23-24, for the total year, it was $133,623 for the year. The next one is uniform services and equipment. That's $80,061. That's sports equipment and uniforms for the 3 schools. If you look over to the left on general funds, the sample expenses, those are just a few of the sample expenses that we have. Football helmet reconditioning that we do every year. We have to recondition over 100 helmets. We usually have about 10 helmets that are rejected, so we have to buy new ones every year. So that's a little less than $9,000 for helmets and shoulder pad replacements. The home campus program that we use is $1,000. The whole program is $4,600, and training supplies about $1,500. So those are just some of the expenses that we have under uniform services and expenses. But one more, the participation dues. I'm sorry. That general fund pays for the CIF state dues. For the high school, that's $1,860. For the CIF Southern section dues, it's $1,350. So those are the expenses that we take out of the general fund. Next one is student funds. I think the biggest chunk out of it is our officials. If you look over to the right, certified referees or umpires for athletic events with compensation that includes a game per diem and mileage reimbursement for travel. We use arbiter pay to pay for those officials. that comes out to about $40,000. And that is for the high school, that's for STEM, and that's Barstow Junior High for all of our athletic events. There's fees for athletic tournaments that cover the cost of entry optional events such as invitationals or postseason tournaments that fall outside of the regular league schedule. That comes up to about $10,000. Some of the additional dues and fees that we pay out of the student funds is the Desert Sky League dues, which are $1,500. The High Desert Athletic League fees, which are $1,165 per school. That's for Barstow Junior High and STEM. And the CIF esports is $100. And then there's additional costs of $8,000. That's an annual amount allocated for any expenses related to the hosting and playing of any athletic competition at any of the three schools. So these are all the funds that are taken out of the student funds. Okay, capital outlay projects. So some of the projects that were funded by the district over the last 5 years, since I've been in this job, we have new scoreboard on the football field, new scoreboard on the softball field, new scoreboard on the baseball field, a new scoreboard in the Barstow High School gym, and a new scoreboard in the Barstow Junior High School gym. Last year, we bought new football bleachers for the visiting side. We'll have a chance to use them for the first time in August. We resurfaced the tennis courts. We've got the Barstow High School gym floor painted and resurfaced, along with new wall pads and scores tables. We replaced the infield at the Barstow High School baseball field, and a new weight room, and we resurfaced, it's not on there, but we resurfaced the gym floors at Barstow Junior High. And when I say we, I understand the district funded that. Next one. In conclusion, student athletics is the most community-facing activity in public schools, bringing together families, alumni, and local supporters through games and events. It builds teamwork, discipline, and school spirit among students while fostering community pride and sharing identity. Given its positive impact on both student growth and community engagement, continued investment in athletics is a worthwhile and meaningful commitment. I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to ask.
I'm about to look at me. Everybody looks at me like, what is your total budget for the whole year? I could have just added up the numbers. I just didn't. I don't know why.
You mean, what did we spend on all of athletics?
Yeah, for the year. And 'cause I couldn't find it in the budget when I was looking for it, but anyway.
It's a little harder because they come from different actions. I could figure it all out, how much it costs for everything. But right now it comes from different places, different accounts. As far as any accounts that I'm in charge of, I'm not in charge of any of the accounts.
Right.
So, but that's something that I could find for you. I'm sorry.
I can get that information.
Okay.
You talk about you got a new weight room, a new weight equipment for the high school.
A new weight room up in well, this was my first year as athletic director. They were the old up in the shop area.
Mm-hmm.
They gutted that room, redid everything in that room.
So if you have to buy new equipment for the weight room, does that come out of your budget? As far as the athletic director?
No.
But the school pays for it?
The district general funds pay for it.
Okay. That's it. I'm good.
Well, finally, something on the agenda that's in my wheelhouse. Hey, Vince, this dues that we send to CIF, that's about the only thing I didn't, I mean, I know we had, it's
we have to pay them.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I was the only thing I seen on there that was new to me. I mean, you know, as far as,
We've been
you know,
paying them forever. And
Yeah.
every year they go up, and it's what the state says we have to pay them dues.
Yeah, the $100 a
Southern
day.
section, we have to pay them dues. Our league, we have to pay dues. And that's something, that's before we even get started. So all those dues that come out of our accounts, and we haven't even started anything.
Go ahead.
And you know me, I was at a game, where was it? At Burroughs. And I asked one of the referees how much he was getting paid, and you thought I was asking him for his social security number. How much did he get paid for one game of football?
And like a football game will
Yeah,
cost
one
us probably,
official.
one guy probably $135, and then travel pay, $40 depending on where they come from. So we're talking about $700 or $800 per game.
Yeah.
And like for track, we don't run track at the high school, but we go to other schools and have our track meets there. We have to host, so we have to pay. It costs $1,000 to have a timer there. The officials are killing us. I mean, everything is just going up. It used to be that we could pay for a lot of things just out of the student funds. We could pay for a few uniforms, we could pay for all the officials, we could pay for equipment. Now we can barely even cover the officials and tournaments. So it's just getting harder and harder to do it out of the funds that we get.
It's kind of tough to get, like, for baseball and softball, you know, they're not bringing in any revenue, you know what I mean? They're all piggybacking on football, you know.
So football is basically our moneymaker.
Yeah.
We make the money through the year, and it has to last the whole year for all the sports that don't make any money. Like basketball, wrestling, and volleyball will make enough, hopefully, to pay for their officials. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But and it's getting more and more expensive. Even for the junior highs, it used to be $35 a game. Now it's $50 a game, and they want to raise. So the junior highs have to pay for that. So we have to raise money for those games also.
Yeah, because a lot of people start saying, well, if baseball don't get this, they don't get that, you know, but they, you know, they're not really pitching in that much, you know.
Well,
It's hard to say, you know what I mean? Because I'm a sports guy, you know.
we do our best to get every sport the love that they need. You know, sometimes we fall short, but we try as much as possible to support every.
What's your dues, with all the dues, CIF and all them others? What do we get out of it? I know we have to pay. That's, I understand.
I guess they sponsor like CIF. CIF game will get here, and they have state tournaments, and they have all these.
Right.
They play for all these things, but you know, if we don't go to the state tournament, they don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say anything bad, but we don't get a lot out of it. I mean, do they sponsor a lot of things? But
Because it's like paying car insurance. You never have an accident, you just pay car insurance forever. Because that is interesting. We pay them enough, and if every school pays that, or every school district pays that, or even more, depending on the size, what do they get back in return? That'd be interesting fact.
well, it's hard to. I would say they give us certificates. They sponsor programs. To be honest, I don't want to say anything bad. We don't get a lot out of it.
Yeah,
But you know, we have to pay to be part of their organization.
sure. Yeah,
Well,
I understand.
Vince, you're probably paying for the commissioner and his staff. If you add up everything.
Yeah.
Except for the southern section, maybe. Because there's a separate section for CIF, right? And
I'm sure it's probably
you're paying for the commissioner and all his staff.
the exact, like the logistics behind it, right? If somebody's got to
Yeah.
tally all these scores on an official side that's not us or the opponents, it's
Maintaining
probably
a website. all
that kind of.
And when you host a CIF football game, do they help you out, like, for the staff, to pay some of the staff?
Like if you're hosting, everything goes by PayPal now, or not PayPal, GoFund, I don't know, you have to pay electronically.
Yeah.
They get all the money. And then we put in for like expenses, it costs this much for ticket takers, this for security.
Custodian.
Yeah, they'll deduct that, and whatever the balance is, they'll be 60-40. They get 60, and then the two teams split the 40.
Really?
So it doesn't really pay to have a home game, and you know we get concessions out of it.
Right.
So that's just the CI.
Yeah, I remember that part of it, you know.
Yeah.
Cause I work a CIF game, heck yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, I asked for this because, you know, being out there in the nonprofit world, you get a lot of people coming to you asking for donations. I used to never support the school district teams. I never did because they have their own funding. But then you learn that, well, it's not exactly what you think, you know. And, you know, right now I'm looking at the junior high school with their weight room equipment. It's all ruined, so we have to buy new ones. And that's the bill I saw, $42,000. You
That was
know,
for what, Leonard?
for the weight equipment
Oh, the weights.
for the junior high school, because they lost it all when they redid the junior high school. They didn't lose it; it got destroyed because they set it outside. And cross country team, you know, I see them every year. I see them every year, and I've learned. I'm like, okay, we can't exclude them. At least I can, you know. But you know,
Some of the teams they'll go out and raise their own money. If they want extras, they'll go out and raise the money.
Yeah, now, yeah,
To them.
exactly.
That's so when they're going out and asking for funds, that's what they're asking for, extras.
Well, we just, God knows, I don't know how much money we spent, but the cross country team, we got them training equipment and pop up tents, and I did jerseys last year for their away games, you know, and I listened to them, you know. One of them came on the board, I asked the question, and I'm like, yeah, I agree. Now, my thing is, and maybe directed to you guys, how can we increase their funding?
We certainly will take a look at that.
I just think it's something, I mean, trust me, I have no problems with being a booster for all of them. You know, I know the football team has their own boosters.
Correct.
But, you know, baseball doesn't have boosters, and nor does basketball or softball, or like you said, they just go out, parents go out and raise money for them and try to get
And the money that they raise, that money goes to our ASB accounts.
Yeah.
So if they don't have their own booster, whatever the money they raise, it goes into ASB accounts and then they spend it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Just to kind of go back and talk about like the Desert Sky League dues. They buy plaques for all the coaches of the year, the players of the year,
Mhm.
you know, first place team. So there's costs involved that, you know, it's hard for me to come up with, right? But there's costs involved for each league and what they do. I know in the Desert Sky League, all that money is spent. For finals, they pay for the officials. So for the Desert Sky League, I know all where that goes to, and I'm assuming that CIF is the same thing.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Concerning our track program. We can't use our facility. What's the reason?
Okay, 3 out of the 5 teams in our league have artificial tracks. So when we are assigned a meet, but you know, thinking of the kids, where would we have them run on an artificial track or on our, you know, to be honest, hard surface? It needs improvement. So we decide, us and Grand Hills both have dirt tracks that aren't very usable. So we go to the other schools and have our track meets.
And we just pay them.
So it's
to use.
And we
an
host it.
advantage to have.
Yeah, it's an advantage to our kids, and that's why we mostly do
Because
that.
there's really nothing wrong with our track. It's just that, if we go run on a, purpose,
Well,
track.
our track, since we haven't used it in a long time, it does need some work. It's
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
hard. The dirt is hard. If we put some money into it, we could. It's just, it's nice. It's better for our kids to get better times when we go to other
Absolutely.
schools.
Yeah.
And that's what we focus on when we schedule them there.
But then that would cut down on travel costs, transportation costs, if we have some here.
Yes. I would love to host track meets. It would be really nice if we hosted track meets, but there's a lot of things that needs to be.
Yeah.
Track meets some way.
Sound like a good capital project.
A question that maybe, I'm not sure all of you may know, I don't know exactly the best place to ask it directly, but with some of the costs and particularly say like the medical expenses with the ambulance and with the officials, one, historically, I'm assuming that this is how it's always been done, meaning that that's coming from the student side of funds. And also with that, is that just the general how everyone is doing business, meaning like, say like all the rest of the schools and the other districts, having the students funding through ticket sales and that side, paying for the officials and or the ambulances? Is that like common practice everywhere? I don't really know. So I don't know who.
I thought this under CIF, you have to have an ambulance there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It is a
Well, I
requirement.
don't mean whether we have it or not. I'm saying is where the
How
funds
it's
are
funded.
Coming from.
how it's funded. Yeah. So like I see that we're doing it through the student side, through the tickets, but is that A, been common practice for Barstow? And B, is that just common practice kind of like the proverbial everywhere, meaning Victorville, et cetera, et cetera? Is that kind of how everybody does it? Or I don't, like I said, I don't really know. I don't know if you guys know or.
I know, been around a long time. So when I first started, ASB used to make enough money to pay for everything for all the fees for CIF, for state, for league dues. We were able to pay for it. And then slowly, we can't afford it anymore. So that the school would pay for it out of general funds. But we're getting to a point where the officials are so expensive now. I think we need some kind of help in that situation. I don't know. I know for sure, like the Victorville schools, they'll pay for like the helmet recertification, any kind of safety equipment and things like that. So that would be something to look into if we wanted to change some of the funds that comes out of it. I think it puts a big disadvantage to some of our principals who have to decide they have to. Do we buy this for athletics because we have to pay all these dues, or do we use it somewhere at the school? But there are a lot of projects that I'd like to do the capital overlay. Like for baseball, we need a new like batting cage turtle. I mean, because we can't practice baseball and have batting practice while we're having a soccer game because we're right next to each other, and that broke last year, and that's like $10,000. So there's a lot of things that we'd like to do. If we had some responsibility.
Vince, I was gonna ask you if, you ever find yourself short where you don't have the funding, so you can't do you just mentioned the batting cage. I imagine there's.
I have a whole list.
Yeah.
Cheerleading mats, we've had them, I don't know how many years, but I know Claire Ellis, a lot of us. My first
Yeah,
year,
a long
so that's
time
a long time.
Yeah.
As an old athletic director, I know exactly what you're going through. You make a list of all the things, your wish list. And you hope someday you're gonna get funding.
In Barstow STEM, they play their games in the old girls' gym. And I'd like to fix that for them like we did for Barstow Junior High, so they have the same type of opportunity.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of things that I'd like to do, but I understand, money's tight, but it still has a wish list that I'd like to take care of.
You said the girls do.
The girls, yeah. Yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, we have a new heater in there now. They have a new boiler. So there's a lot of good things happening.
Yeah. I remember sweeping water out of there every year, cussing everybody out in the world, you know?
So,
Vince,
yeah,
what, I understand that we allocated some funds for the locker room, in the boys, is that the
for
football locker room?
They did, there was some bad leaks in there. I know they redid the roof there.
Right.
And they're trying to, it had a big, skylight. Remember the skylight in there where you can look up? They got rid of that and just closed it in so it doesn't leak anymore. But, I mean, it's nice to have that locker room. It's.
Well, you
not-
got it.
It's not brand new, but it's a nice, I like it. It's old school.
Yeah, have you seen the locker room at the junior high school? That place doesn't make any sense to me. It just, where the showers were, there's nothing there. And these lockers look, I think I used them when I was in junior high
Well,
school,
when
you know.
those little small ones were there when I was there,
Yeah,
a long time ago. And that's back when we had to take showers, so that shower area wasn't usable. But it looks nice in there because there's nice lockers there now. I don't know when the last time you were there.
about 2 months ago.
2 months ago, yeah, so those lockers that are there now are a lot nicer than what we had
Yeah.
before. And the floors look nice and it has brand new scoreboards.
Yeah.
It's really, I like it. I mean, it's small, but that's good for what we need.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
I just wish we'd give you more money.
Yeah. Don't got a magic wand here.
Yeah. And it's mostly just, I'm here to tell you how our funds are spent, what we use it for, who pays, and that we're trying our best to satisfy your.
Trust me.
Thank you very much.
I think we'll work real hard to.
Thank you, appreciate you.
All right.
Hang in there.
All right, next we have the approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting, May 27th, 2025. I believe that is the one. No, that's not.
Everybody was there.
Okay, just making sure that wasn't the one I was. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is business from the floor. The board meeting is a business meeting of the board held in a public forum to comply with the Brown Act. It is not a town hall meeting with the board. This is a time for citizens to present problems or questions they feel the board should discuss. Individuals are encouraged to address the full board, not individual board members. The law prohibits the board from taking action on items not on the agenda. Request to speak cards should be filled out in advance and presented to the superintendent's executive assistant. Instructions for submitting remote public comments can be found on our website, busdk12.com, under the tab Board of Trustees. The board has a policy limiting any speaker to not more than 3 minutes. The board limits the total time for public input on each item or topic to 15 minutes or 5 individual requests to speak. The president may review the submitted request to speak or take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Citizens who have comments on or against a particular issue may be asked to provide a written statement for the record or to sign an agreement with the written comments of another citizen. All names will be memorialized in minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending on the topic and number of persons wishing to be heard. For the record, please state your name.
None this evening.
Ready? Thank you. Next, we have staff reports, monthly cash report, June 30th, 2025.
Thank you. The monthly cash report as of June 30th, 2025 indicates a positive cash flow. The district has $80,932,278.31 as noted in the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools Treasury Report. And is presented to the board as an information item.
Thank you. I did want to put just a reminder. I know this isn't directly for you, so it'll be over to Mr. Beaton, but from the last board meeting, as far as with the funds, reducing with the ESSER dollars and what that will look like moving forward with that, just I know that's not a right now question, but just a reminder for him on that.
I will relay the reminder and the message.
Thank you. Did anybody else have any other?
That is something.
All right. Next we have the superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. So I do have a message from the superintendent. Good afternoon, board members, staff, and guests. Please allow me to begin by thanking Assistant Superintendent Jorge Gutierrez for stepping in for me at tonight's board meeting while I'm in Tennessee visiting with my daughters and grandchildren. Our 2025 summer school program was a great success with approximately 304 students participating at Barstow High School, 143 students at Barstow Junior High School, junior high, and 343 elementary students engaging in programs at Crestline, Montera, and Henderson. Both staff and students enjoyed a positive and enriching experience throughout the summer. On Thursday, July 17, 2025, the Board of Trustees and the superintendent will be holding a special board meeting. The meeting will be board governance workshop discussing board and superintendent roles and responsibilities. The workshop will be conducted by members of the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools Board Governance Support Team. On Friday, July 25th, 2025, the Board of Trustees and the superintendent will be attending board retreat. We will meet in the morning at Los Domingos for breakfast and get to know you activities. Then we will make our way to Flying Colors in Apple Valley to put our artistic style to work. I look forward to our time together as we work to ensure every student in Barstow Unified School District is provided a safe environment conducive to learning. And that is the message from our superintendent, Ms. Deanna Strange.
It's weird to talk about
Yeah.
yourself in the third person.
I almost stopped there when it says Jorge Gutierrez, the third person. I'm like, what? It was very weird. I almost stopped. You felt that.
I was like. All right, board reports, Mr. Williams?
Well, I see we put we're working on Cameron putting the PCs in on top of the roof, or that was a good thing. Glad to see that. Glad summer school went well. Just so you know, Mr. The PIO. Okay, there you go.
Mercedes Chavez.
Mr. Chavez. He posted on the school website that I won an award down for Molina Health. I normally don't put that stuff out, but anyway. But I was granted, it was a Molina community champion for the Inland Empire. And I was one of 3 who got the award, and it's a $5,000 award to a nonprofit that you could donate to a nonprofit. Of course, I donated it to my nonprofit, which in turn I will donate it to the school district for as part of the donation, but to help support the Barstow Junior High School getting their weight equipment back. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm working hard on that, getting more people to cough up money. Yeah. Which I like to see people cough up money. It's always good. But it's for a good cause. So we want to get those kids the weight equipment back to help them out. Start them young. That's what we say. And other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Jesus?
Congratulations, Mr. Williams.
Thank
Well
you.
deserved, well deserved, well deserved. And of course, all our hearts go out to the poor kids in Texas, the devastating flood that, just seems like it's one bad news after another, and only thing I hate about the news is only bad news sells. You never hear about the guy that saved the kid's life and drowned it, you know what I mean? You only hear about the guy that drowned the kid, so that's just the way that goes. And I've, excuse me a minute. I've also shared, when I was on the campaign trail, I said that, no man, woman, or child group was going to use peer pressure or intimidation to sway me the way I vote on a Tuesday afternoon. And that's just the way it's going to be. What I say on Thursday is probably the way I'm going to vote on Tuesday. And you guys probably know me by now, and that's the way I am. And we're talking about safe environment for kids, and that's what I'm all about. I'm not here to protect people, employees. Sure, I'll do it, but I'm here for the kids first. And people can't accept that. They can run against me in 3 years. Area 3, they can go knocking on my relatives' doors. That's where I was raised. And my uncles lived there, my cousins lived there. And good luck. But I'm here to protect kids. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr.
Well,
Brill?
I'd also like to offer my congratulations. Appreciate the fact that that money's gonna go right back into the district. Good for you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Just also second what everyone else has already said, but congratulations. I know it's a small thing, but I know it's good to hear and be appreciated for all your hard work. I know you do a lot for the kids. Also for all the families in Texas, I couldn't even imagine how terrible that their situation is they're going through. And the only other thing I would just add is just a thank you for all the different district employees, Mr. Williams, just everybody that comes in to answer all of our questions. Just thank you to everybody for having patience and all of your knowledge and all the years of information that you have to give us. We only get small windows, of information from all of you. So I appreciate everything you guys give to us. So then hopefully we can make, the best educated decisions that we can make based on the information that you guys provide to us. So thank you for that. No student representatives report.
Not this evening.
All right. Next we have representatives report, PEA.
No messages and no one here.
No, CSEA.
Everybody's on summer break.
Okie dokie. Personnel Commission.
All right, good evening. Board member, staff, and guests. This is the report from the Personnel Commission. We currently have 2 interviews in process. 2 recruitments are in the testing stage, and we have 0 recruitments that are open. Our statistics are, we currently have 374 classified employees, 176 8-hour full-time, 123 benefited part-time, 75 non-benefited part-time, and all of these include 15 classified management employees. On the classifications, on the security side, we have no vacancies. On the campus safety, we do have 3 vacancies that we're interviewing next week. So we have scheduled interviews already. Custodial, we have no vacancies at this time. And the rest that we have to report is that we're scheduling interviews for the TK paraeducator positions already for next week, July 16th, possibly the 17th. There's a lot of openings we're trying to fill. We're currently testing for Nutrition Services 1 today and tomorrow. For today, we had 28 scheduled to come in, and unfortunately, we got 6 individuals to actually show up. So they told us they were going to come in and test. There was 6 that actually came in. We're going to try again tomorrow. We have again another 28 candidates scheduled and see how many we actually get. And we'll keep pushing to try to get more individuals to actually come to our process. We're scheduling testing for the HR technician position already for our target date is next Monday, July 14th. So that is our next classification. The next one after that is we're gonna score the translator interpreter position and then move to testing. So that's the next one in line. For the campus safety and security trainings, I know I've reported that we're gonna be training July 28th, 29th, and 30th at the junior high school NPR room, starting at 8:30 a.m. So I've sent that information to the staff, and we'll follow up and make sure everybody gets the information before we start. Let's see. For the nutrition services 1 and 2 interviews, we're gonna fill those vacancies as soon as we get a ranked list, following testing. We're updating our proctor testing instructions and procedures and also the protocols for how we test individuals. So we're gonna be doing a lot of changes on that. We're completing the beginning of the year letters, so those should all be sent out already. And then on the summer school custodian and the help that I know, we talked about it over the last couple of sessions. We completed summer school, we finished the additional custodial help. However, we asked the sites that if they needed additional help still to let us know, and we'll prep, the AWT form and give them the help they need. So there's only one school site that replied to us, so we'll work with them. They gotta give us, tell us how many hours they need, how many days, and we'll work to get that figured out. That concludes my report.
Yes, I do have a question. And I've heard you say it many a times, but someone asked me, they asked the question, because you always say testing. And it doesn't matter what position it is you have testing for. Is it a requirement to test each? Is that a requirement within the school system?
No, it is a requirement within the merit system.
Okay.
The merit system requires testing, and that could be an actual test, or it could be us scoring like an essay and assigning a test score, like a percentage, and that'll give us rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, or ties. So we need a form to differentiate the group, the candidates, so that we get a ranked list.
Right.
So that is the easiest way to do it and the best way so that there isn't a lot of objectivity, right? I mean, it's just people taking a test, you're getting a score like we all did in a school, right, or for a job, and you get a percentage and that puts you on a list and rank, 1 to 10 or whatever it is. So that is our requirement. We have been investigating with some of our entry level positions whether we can do something about particular testing and maybe just do a paper screen, because that would shorten some of that time that we need to turn that around. So we're kind of investigating that to see if that's allowed through the rules, and I know some of the other merit districts do something similar, so we have to have some more conversation.
That was a question that was brought up. School district takes such a long time that,
Yes.
you go through all this process. It takes a long time for them to say yay or nay. You got the job or you don't got the job.
Yes. So
And that was a question. I was like, well, okay, yeah, we got a process, but I understand the merit system. I got it.
yeah, the merit system has several steps. There are some things that we're looking at to utilize technology to try to speed up some of the processes. Some of that is the onboarding. Some of our onboarding, it's a face-to-face kind of an interview where individuals have to turn in paperwork, assign paperwork, there's a checklist, there's a whole process, and sometimes that can take us an hour plus. If we were to digitize that, we cut that down to about 15 minutes. So we're looking into that, right? And some other ways that we can kind of shorten up that process. With the rest of the testing stuff, I think the scoring of individuals to qualify to test, we're also looking at ways that we can improve or streamline that process, particularly with the entry level positions where it might not be as essential to test. If the test could be us scoring the application and maybe ask the questions directly on the application and score that.
So what is the actual length of time from the time you fill out the application and they go through the whole process?
So that varies with where they are in the priority list. Some of these classifications like safety and security, we pull them to the top, so they go first. So we can fill those in 2 months now. Some of the other ones, they have to wait in line. So first come, first serve. So that may be 6 months.
But no, okay, but I'm talking about that number one candidate from the time they fill out that application, turn it in, all their testing and all this other stuff. In general, how long does that take?
Yes. So that could be 2 months, 4 months, and depending if we have a lot of classifications that we're filling, different classifications, whether it's one candidate that's being hired or 20, sometimes it takes the same length of time to process that particular test,
Mhm.
rank, and get the rank list and move to interview. So
I mean, have you ever heard that it was a surprise to
that
me
it takes the
that it
time.
takes so much time.
That's very common with merit systems. That's a very common comment that we get from people in the public because they're seeing it from the outside. If we didn't have that, yes, I mean, sometimes people go, they don't even interview, right? They just do a paper screen and they're handing out jobs to people, but that's not what's ideal and that's not what, the community would like because they want competition and they want to make sure that the system is fair and that there is no nepotism, et cetera.
Have you looked at trying to streamline that? It doesn't take 4 months, 6 months.
Right, yes, and so that's where our use of technology is coming in. We try to find other candidate tracking systems. So we use EdJoin generally to post our positions and get our applications. So we're looking at other platforms that we could use, or maybe we can just use EdJoin as a job posting site and we post a job there, but redirect them somewhere else where as soon as somebody fills out a profile, all that information would be pre-filled throughout the process, all the way into hiring, straight to the path, even there. So all that information would be pre-filled, so that would cut down on a lot of the process. A lot of the stuff that we have to do is data entry multiple times.
Right.
So multiple steps, because we're paper driven. So if we digitize that, that would probably be a big one.
We got a lot of room in the cloud.
Yes.
Put it all up there.
That is, our boxes from the spider room are.
There you go.
They're
There you go.
crazy. 750 boxes went in the truck.
But then you gotta hire somebody to watch the boxes, right?
Yes.
But also, I want to thank you because I'm sure you guys had part of it. The posts I seen about the jobs that was available. The superintendent had her little speech, but that was a great idea. I think because it gets out to a lot more people than the smaller groups that you have. I think gets out to a lot more people. I think that was good, but I do worry about the length of time it takes because I've always heard you say that, but then actually someone spoke to me and said, it just takes so long to apply for a job at the school district.
If you apply in the federal government, it's similar. If you're hiring an agent over there for customs or whatever, it's about a year from turning in the application.
I work for the federal government. I applied. Takes about 2 months. Once you get the process.
Right.
But yeah,
So, yeah.
the longest time it takes is getting your start date. That takes forever to seem like, but no, I understand. I did. I heard that and it was a surprise to me when they said it, because I've always heard you say it, the testing and all this other stuff. And they said, it just takes too long. So maybe something to look at, what you guys can do to kind of speed up that process. Maybe I'm out of line, I don't know. But
No.
it's just
No,
a
that's
concern that was brought to me.
That's fair. And yeah, well, also when we get the additional help with the new HR tech position, we're gonna get some additional hours there. That should help. We have a lot of filing to do, so we're gonna start.
All right. Christina ain't gonna do it.
Not your job.
Thank you, Mr. Ortiz.
Did you?
Mentioned request for extra custodians in the summer and stuff. Which school requested the
Henderson.
Henderson requested.
Henderson?
Yeah, so they're gonna submit a proposal to us specifically how many hours they need per day and, the projects that they're gonna have them work on, and then we'll clear that.
Yeah, that's all right. That sounds right. And then these other schools where the principal's not there, who's gonna request it?
The SAM could, so somebody, the SAM or Mr. Hooker from the Director of Maintenance, somebody else can kind of tell us, but I checked with all the SAMs, all the schools, all the principals before, and they replied, right?
So the custodian shows up and asks Mr. Hooker, hey man, I need some help. They're not gonna be labeled as a troublemaker and.
Should not, it just, we have to ensure that there's there's work to be done, right? There's a good request, how many hours they need, and if it's a reasonable request. and
Yeah, you didn't have to do that to hire a principal, you know what I mean, for summer school, you know? You know, I mean, it's only logical. I mean, they need help, you know, I mean, and then superintendent, she said, you know, we're a safe environment, you know, everybody's talking about safe, you know, clean, safe environment, you know? We gotta go through the Williams Acts and all that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah,
I mean, it's only, you know,
so what we can do and commit to is for the next cycle, you know, the group that needs to plan for summer school already knows that this has to be taken into consideration, which is what I said. And it has to be part of the planning. And we gotta get proposals from the schools to tell us how many hours they're gonna need and then. You know,
well, it fell short this year.
That's all I got,
Yes.
Do you have anything, Mr. Bryant? No. I was curious on the paras, and I guess partially with the conversation from the last time with the possibility of splitting the special needs
Yes.
paras. If let's just say hypothetically, if something that we would do if we wanted to, is that something that we, meaning our side, like the district side, would create the position? Again, if, like I said, if we were to move forward with an idea like that, and then the personnel commission side would hire the position for that, or where, like, if we wanted to do it, where would the first ball
Well, the
land?
first step would be for us to create a job description and then negotiate that. That's the
Okay.
fastest way to do that.
And that's on
Yeah,
our side?
our side, making a proposal with
Okay.
CSCA.
And then from there, then create an actual job description based on the description, and then it would get over to your guys'
Yes.
side.
Yes, so new jobs that are created, they have to be initiated here just with the duties, right? What is it that you want them to do?
Yeah,
And then once that ball gets rolling, if it's in the bargaining unit, it has to go to bargaining, so they kind of bargain out there. At some point, you know, that might go through their process of approval in 610, and then it comes back to the personnel commission, and we put together the minimum qualifications, everything else that the person would need in order to get the duties done, right? Get the job done, and then it would be approved on that side, on the personnel commission side, and then we fill it.
and do you know where we are? Because I know at the end of the year, we kept trying to have all of the big Parapalooza and getting everybody in, where everything shook out as far as how many vacancies that we have, how many, like where we are as far as getting filled with that.
So, we have Parapalooza next week, so.
Okay,
July 16th, we have so many candidates that we have to screen that we're gonna screen them 3 or 4 at a time in different stations because 20-minute interviews, because we have to process so many people at the same time. Numbers, you'll see in one of your items here that we're requesting 20 additional para-TK positions. And that's to meet the
yeah,
state mandated requirements of a 10-to-1 ratio of adult to student in the classroom. So that just boosted our universe, right? We're probably looking at about 40 total pairs that we need to hire. So we're gonna process a lot of them next week. And then we reserved the following day, the room to do onboarding, and which is what I'm telling you. Onboarding could take us, sometimes it takes an hour. We're gonna try to do group onboarding, right? So put everybody in the same room and, okay, take out this page, fill it out, right? And we just go one by one, at least do as much of that as we can. And then the individual thing would be the fingerprinting, right? That has to be individual. Some of the other paperwork that is individual will have to do that. Go table to table to try to process those as quickly as you can.
do we know like a ballpark of numbers, or are we allowed to know that as far as the total amount of applicants that we got from this round?
We had we merged the list, so the last number we had is 62. But when we merge the list, we may get a couple of other ones, maybe another 20 out of that, so we might have as many as 80. Now, how many of those actually trickle down to actual people showing up and interviewing and going through the process, that's always a wild card. But this particular position is not as bad as the para-ascend. We have a lot of drop-offs, right? So we start with 50 and we end up with 7. At the end of the process, we end up with 7 because people drop off on us.
Okay. And so most likely by the next meeting, we have a while, we should have a pretty good picture as far as where we're sitting on all of it.
By the next meeting, you'll get a board agenda item with actual names of people that are gonna probably be already working, because we're gonna move them that fast.
Yeah.
So you're gonna get a big list over there of actual names,
Cool.
you know, number of hours, et cetera.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be a big one next.
Thank you.
All right.
Bravo.
Anybody else? Thank you. All right, next we have the adoption of the agenda with 2 corrected copies. First is K6A3, extra duty employment certificated contract, and the second is K33, the wellness together contract. Can I get a motion to approve with 2 corrected copies?
So,
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. So we have no communications tonight for the consent agenda. I do know there's a lot of them. Did you want to start? I guess we'll start with Mr. Williams.
Yes, I would like to pull A25.
Okay, K25. Okay. That was it. Did you also want to pull the K4?
K4, 4 through 6. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And let me see.
The other we
L.
discussed was L, but that's discussion will already be open.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we also had the 3 that we had discussed earlier was all under pupil services, K31, K32, and K34.
yes, sir.
And I had under ed services, K21, K26, and K29. Long list. So, did you have any, Mr. Prey, you'd like?
No,
to
I did
pull?
not.
Okay. Did I miss everybody's? We're all good? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda with items pulled?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Are you guys all good as far as tracking with the numbers?
Yes.
1 second.
Okay.
You want to go in order or?
Yeah, we're gonna go.
We're
in
gonna
order.
go in order.
Yep, just let me know. I know that was a lot.
No,
We'll start
you're
with K21.
Mm-hmm. Okay. K21 in-service education.
And I'll turn that over to, my order.
Alrighty.
Jane.
Okay, so for our in-service for this board meeting, we have most of our school psychologists attending on July 25th at our DM SELPA in Apple Valley conference or training rather called Understanding Dyslexia. So it'll be an all-day training and they will be receiving specific information about how to help our students in diagnosing, well, to a certain extent, diagnosing dyslexia and the supports that students with dyslexia need. And this is submitted to the board for approval.
I was just curious as far as where the students get the help or like say like some of it's self-explanatory as far as meaning like this type of services and a teacher with the psychologist being involved in the process. Is it something like the teacher would notice that a student needs assistance somewhere? How does that chain get connected?
So, and we actually have an item coming up in just a little bit, K25.
Okay. Yeah.
So, we have, the board had previously approved our reading difficulty screener, which is mandated now by the state. So that's our first level.
Okay.
So our students will, in kindergarten through second grade, mandatory unless a parent opts out. But we have chosen to provide the screening for our students in kindergarten through sixth grade. We will screen our students and see what areas, depending on the screeners that are offered through DIPL. So there'll be different portions of it. That'll come up with basically, a level, whereas, there's no reading difficulties indicated, there's certain reading difficulties indicated, and then through that screener, it'll determine whether there is a potential for dyslexic tendencies. So at that point, the teacher will be given options of interventions that need to be provided for the student in those particular areas that the student is experiencing difficulties. And the student will go into the process of a student success team, a student study team, and be monitored for progress. After a certain number of sessions, you could say, after a certain number of weeks with intervention, if a student still isn't, it still isn't showing growth in those areas, then that's where our school psychologist would come in. There would be a potential referral for special education testing, and our school psychologists are receiving additional information about how they can support in that process.
Okay. I guess is for the psychologist specifically, are they in this capacity with this training, is it helping with say the social emotional side of dealing with having dyslexia? Or the actual part of does that, you know what I mean? The
Yes,
actual
yes.
educational
Right.
side or the SEL side or a little bit of both?
It's really more for this particular training. It's more about understanding the neurological conditions of dyslexia and the testing that's associated with it, the indicators for it. Our school psychologists obviously are not providing the interventions themselves.
Yeah.
So what they'll be learning is the additional information, because they, as school psychologists, they have been trained in portions of this. So this is basically a booster for them. And they'll be receiving the information about when they come into the process, their level of testing, the information they can provide to the school site in terms of, parents, the teachers, the students, maybe even themselves, about what interventions and supports they need in the future that are more intensive than what potentially the teacher has provided through our MClass and DIPL's assessments.
Thank you. Anybody else have that? No.
I was just here, but I take a brief recess.
I'll go ahead if we're okay to do a motion and a vote for this and then take a quick recess. Can I get a motion?
So move.
Second. Motion second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And it is 6:10. We'll take a 5-minute recess.
Everybody.
Okay, it is 6:17 and we'll reconvene from our short recess. And next we'll move to K-5, Amplify M-Class Dibbles Lectura.
From Fisher. Yes.
Oh, thank you. You literally just reminded me of that. And also we now have all 5 trustees present. Ms. Gibbons is now with us, joining us. And so thank you for that. And yes, now we will go to K-5 Amplify.
And that item is handed over to Ms. Fisher.
So for this, the board had
Before you
previously, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Before you start,
Yeah.
I just wanted,
Okay.
I pulled this because this is and this is important. And I think all the parents out there and grandparents and guardians need to know that this is happening and kind of understand. Because you answered a lot of the questions the last one. So.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so for this one, we had already approved, the board had already approved for us to be able to provide not only the subscription for the reading screener itself, but also for professional development. So in scheduling all of the professional development over the course of the year, we noted that there was probably one more that we needed to be able to have. So that's what this is for. It's in addition to the professional development, so that all of our sites can be trained in administering the reading screener. As I mentioned previously, this will be for kindergarten, mandatorily for kindergarten through 2nd grade, but additionally for our school district for students in grades 3 through 6, because we do know that we have a lot of struggling readers in those grade levels. And then, so not only the administration in the Dibbles assessments, but also for a half-day follow-up training on site for, virtually. The initial one will be on site. The second one will be virtually to really dig in and understand the information that was received from the screeners, and then how the teachers can provide interventions at that point. And this is being provided to the board for approval.
Okay. Questions? No, I just, the K to 2nd grade. I mean, I think it's just very important that, we can get that data now and catch it early.
Exactly.
So we don't be finding out in junior high school or high school that there's a problem. And I just think it's a great idea. And all this stuff is preparing us for that, because it starts in next school year. Yeah.
Soon.
Starts next school year. So, and I thought it was a great idea when I first heard it. Just want everybody to know that, we're looking at things a lot better today than we've ever have been in education. And this is just part of this, one of the things that your district is out there doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next we have K-6, Consultant Agreement, Lexia Voyager.
So I would say Silver. Yeah.
I know, I'm
Yeah.
like,
So
I
for-
don't want to
Yeah,
mispronounce
Yeah,
the
okay, yeah.
rest of it, but
For step up to writing training. So this is, I should say, step up to writing training is, or I should say materials program is a supplemental writing program that we brought back to our district last year. We had many teachers trained in it back years ago when I was in the classroom. It is part of the science of reading, I guess you could say, like ideals or information, because it's very, I don't want to say scripted, but it's very programmatic in teaching writing. It's very structured. And so we brought it back last year, and this is to provide additional training over the course of the year with 2 trainings for initial trainings for our teachers in K-8, and then specific genre training throughout the course of the year, so that our teachers are learning how to teach our students how to write a narrative, an information or explanatory essay, and then also an opinion essay. And then it's also for our teacher licenses so that they can access the teacher information online. And the little, they call them student handy pages. So they're the consumables that go along with it. And we are asking for the approval of the board for continuing Step Up to Writing.
Questions? This time.
I'm guessing by having student handouts, I think that's kind of answering my question. If it's digital or actually like when we say writing,
Yes.
right? Those are
Yeah.
two different forms.
Yeah.
Is that both? Is it specifically one? Okay.
Yeah, it'll be both. The handy pages are, it's not a large consumable book. They are actually what it kind of is called, the handy pages. So what it is there's a lot of graphic organizers and like memory type of posters and that type of thing that go along with each of the writing genres or just writing in general with Step Up to Writing, which is what helps the students understand the structure of writing. So the handy pages are part of the student like portion of it. They there's certain things that they can write in, but for the most part, it's more of like a little consumable that they keep throughout the year so that they can refer back to it. In addition to say poster support, there's not a student actual like portal that they would go into or anything like that. They do have to either write or or write all of the genres that they learn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was the only, but I physically handwriting
Yep.
something the way, at least for me, I know everybody learns in their own modalities, but physically writing it out definitely helped me. I know, hey, 21st century, we're moving on to technology, but I do still think there's a
Yes.
large value in the difference between physically putting pen to paper. So
Yeah.
digital has its place,
Right.
but I do like
Yeah.
that are having programs with at least some form of integrated handwriting. I think that's a great thing.
If I may add, I did
Yeah.
use it in the classroom as well. And it is a comprehensive framework to teach students how to write cohesively. How to write a paragraph with topic, sentences, supporting details,
Yeah.
examples, and concluding sentences, which translates as early as first grade. And students will write cohesive paragraphs if you use that framework. To essays in 4th and 5th grade, starting in 3rd grade, and it's color coordinated. The topic sentences are green, the supporting details are yellow, and the concluding sentences are green, and then examples are red. There's a whole framework that goes along with it and structure. And the benefit with that is that we do have a high mobility rate in our school district when students go from school to school. And if we're all speaking the same language and we're using the same structures to close the literacy circle, right? Because reading is important, but also writing closes that literacy circle. And it helps students it translates into the reading part as well, because as they're reading, they're able to identify topic sentences and concluding sentences and main ideas of paragraphs. So it'll increase our comprehension as well. So I'm glad that we're bringing this back and it presented to the board for approval tonight.
Any other? Okay. Then can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next we have is K-29, the Barstow Area Consortium Adult Education. I can just go ahead and start with this one. This was just something, it's an MOU that I had just seen a few things and I had a couple questions, just historical information on and how that translates to what's in the MOU that I had spoken with the superintendent about. I would like to suggest to table the item just to allow her the time to get that information and then bring it back to us if everyone is okay with tabling the item. And we don't need to take a vote, right, for that? Next, we have Pupil Services, K-31 Consultant Agreement, PICAPAC.
Yeah, and I'll turn that one over to Dr. Williams.
Sure. So I'd like to give some information around 1, 2, and 4, kind of globally, and then I can talk about the 3 different vendors that we're asking the board to approve tonight. So in April, as part of the consolidated app, one of the things that we have is how we're going to plan on spending our categorical funds. And one of the funds, Title IV, talks about providing students with access to a well-rounded education. And one of the ways that we said that we would provide that as a district is through expanding our social emotional learning curriculum that's available. At the last meeting, the board approved our core curriculum, Navigate 360. That'll be our kind of every classroom, every student's core curriculum for social emotional learning. Tonight, we have 3 supplemental either curriculums or items that we have been using in the past and are already familiar with our district, that we're asking the board to approve the contracts for them for the upcoming school year. So the first one in K31 is a vendor Pika Pack, which we'll use mostly in TK through 5, though it is available for training purposes in TK through 8. The program itself does go up to high school, but we have not identified that as use within our district. It's going to be available for teachers, and it's designed to do whole group SEL lessons as well as some guidance lessons. Our counselors pushing into classrooms and doing lessons. So in addition to the core SEL curriculum, this is an additional curriculum through Pika Pack that has been identified by our SEL committee for use within the district, and we're bringing it to the board tonight for your approval.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. When I was a custodian, they go around and they get us these equipments for the gym floor and stuff, and actually it was really nice for them to give it to us, but there's actually other ones that if they'd have come and consulted with us, district could have saved some money and everything would have been fine and dandy. I guess what I'm getting at, the foot soldiers are going to be doing this to implement this. Were they consulted or were they asked or?
Yes, I don't have the makeup of the SEL committee, but People Services did have multiple meetings with teachers and administrators who have been implementing these programs. A lot of times we went through the process similar to what you said, where we would get a trial or we would purchase it for a year to ask teachers to implement it. I know that there was a lot of programs available and were given to teachers to use, and we did get feedback on. And so specifically with the supplementals is the reason why we're bringing a variety, or the reason we're asking the board to approve a variety of, I'll call them smaller programs. Because like I said, the Suite 360 was the large comprehensive one. But based on the feedback from our teachers, our administrators, and our teachers on assignment, there was like, hey, this part isn't present in this one big package. And so we want to have this for, in this case, our teachers to do whole group lessons. Some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about are specific to counselors. Some of the ones that I'll talk about a little bit later, specific to a grade level, or maybe to administrators in a tier 2 or tier 3 setting. And so these are being brought based on that feedback and based on a kind of a framework of where they fit in. And so how those, the scope and sequence of those is going to continue to be worked on by that group of teachers and administrators.
So you're telling me here tonight that that the foot soldiers were
Yes, this came from
involved with this decision here.
Yes, it came from the SEL committee that is involved with our teachers and administrators who use these programs at the sites.
Okay. I'll make a note of that. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next we have K32
Excuse me,
consulting.
that was an A on that.
Oh,
You didn't ask.
excuse me. Sorry, I thought everybody said yes.
No. Nay.
Okay. So all opposed.
Yes. Nay. Aye.
The vote is 4-1. Okay. Next is K32 consultant agreement committee for children.
And I'll turn that over to Dr. Williams as well.
Okay, under the same kind of description as before, this contract is with a group called Committee for Children, but it's more commonly referred to as Second Step SEL program. This contract for 2077-80 is mostly used by our counselors. And so this is a program that they're able to use either again in one-on-one sessions and small group sessions, or if they push into a classroom. It also will provide an account to our peer support counselor who can assist with directing counselors in the use of this particular program. So this one's more counselor specific within the district. Again, just as an example, Second Step has programs for both counselors, for administrators, and for the teachers in the classroom. The committee did not elect to use this program for its wall-to-wall SEL, but did ask that this product be available, this portion of the product be available for its counselors to use. So in response to that, we're bringing it to the board for their approval.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
That's it.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Sorry about
No, you're good. Next we have K34, toolbox projects.
Again, I'm
Turn
sorry.
it over to Dr. Williams.
I was ready for it. Toolbox project, again, a supplemental SEL curriculum for the district. This is focused on, while it's available for all staff, focused on our younger grades, the TK through 4. This is specifically for consumables for the project, so specific hand-on manipulatives, for lack of a better term, that the kids will use as part of participating in it. Toolbox project specifically focuses on students building resilience. And so while some of the other programs might be in response to an action or a tier 2 or a tier 3, or even just be a core informational SEL curriculum, this one was targeted by the committee for its focus on building resilience. So we're asking the board to approve that tonight for that use.
Any questions or comments? Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we're going into business services, K44, ratify change order number 21C001, HVAC for Cameron Elementary.
Okay, so this item right here, in the original contract that was submitted to the board for approval, the scope and sequence did not include the ducting, the professional cleaning for the ducting. In order for us to extend the life of the product that is being installed, this needs to be completed and it's presented to the board for approval.
Yes. And we can look at 4, 5, and 6 all the same way, because they all talk about the same thing. So we can just I'll just put it all in the package. But with me, when I read, especially 4 and 5, we're replacing the AC units, you would assume that would be in the contract automatically, because you're replacing the whole thing, so you clean out everything. So it surprised me when you're like, oh, yeah, we have a change, but we have to add this to it. I don't understand why it wasn't added at the beginning. And when they first sit there, it's the same company. Why didn't they? That should have been, to me, if you get your AC changed on your house, you're gonna change it, you're gonna have your ducts cleaned anyway. So for me, I just like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. You wouldn't have me talking. We would have just done this at the beginning. If someone, be honest with you, if someone hadn't looked and said, okay, it doesn't include cleaning the air ducts. We need to include that in there. And I just think we just got to be more cognizant when we look at stuff like that. And these are big contracts. These are what, 1.5, 1.6. That everything is concluded. Because to bring it back, to me, it's a waste. I think it's important we have, but we should have done it from the beginning. That's my thing about it. And even with, I can say it now. With 6, it's a plus. It's a minus because we get money back. But I would have never thought you'd have to clean your ducts if you're going to replace a roof. That wouldn't even came up on my radar. Yeah, you're replacing my roof. I don't need you to mess with my ducts. So it's like, okay, why was that added into a roofing contract?
Well,
But I'm sorry.
let's stay with it because I do have comments to make if we are going onto the roofing one, but let's stay at least with it, because we did pull all three of them,
Yes,
just to stay, under the right agenda item.
yes.
But in the same lane for this, and we can add it for a potential item, but, since it is open, I think that it's in the lane. Would it be out of line or like a big cost if we say have a resident expert? I know that people, this is their job as far as putting together different POs, but specifically say a construction person that we have that basically vets the contracts and or like, is that kind of what Ledesma Meyer is and should be doing now? Or like, where does that fall? Because I feel like if we have, say, a professional that is reviewing it under the contract side, for that lane, would we have less change orders? I don't.
Oh, sorry.
Because like, is that part of Ledesma Meyer's responsibility at all? Or is that fall just on us? Or where does that,
Well, I think,
or I guess maybe only for like whichever contracts or jobs they're overseeing that we're doing, then they would.
I'm not quite sure Ledesma Myers was involved in this one. Dr. Williams, you have any
In terms
knowledge?
of the specific company, I can't speak to it on this one just because the contract's right in front of me. I can give you a little bit of feedback, my experience in previous district in the facilities project and what I've seen here in a case like this. So in this particular order, we've seen the actual HVAC units on camera, and I think physically you drive by and they're there. And so when this project or any project goes out to bid, someone does come out and says, okay, what is it you want done, school district? And then they get up on the roof and they look around and say, here are all the things that would need to be done to complete that project. And that list of things goes out to any potential vendor who would want to bid on it. And then they make their bid based on all of the things that are listed. So it's not just, we want a job done. We want a job done and here are all the things that will need to be done. And so they give us a full comprehensive bid, gives us prices on all of those things. And so the change order in this case is for something that was not listed on the original bid, but found that needed to be done in the process of the actual implementation. And so change orders are in part expected, and that's why the 10% does exist. So if there is a change, either way, whether it costs more or costs less, the board is authorized, an agent, the CDO in this case, to sign off on that order in order for it to be completed. And then that change itself gets brought to the board for that ratification. And so, there are times where it either didn't make it on there or it was an unexpected extra item. We have to do this one more thing in order to complete it. That was not part of the original bid, but people do come out and experts do come out and say, here are the things that need to be in a bid in order to execute the task that you're asking of us. And so,
is there ever a time that there's ever a conflict in saying that whoever it was that did that precursory and said the things that needed to be done and what should have been foreseen and what wasn't supposed to be foreseen is what occurred? Because I'm not an HVAC specialist, but I've worked on enough houses to know if you're going to replace an AC unit, any HVAC contractor, the first thing they're going to say is, how old is your ducting in your house?
Yeah, exactly.
And so just by basic logic, you would say, hey, these have been here for how many decades? I think that would be a pretty let's say you're doing the ducting cleaning that you accounted for. Then as doing the cleaning, they're putting the pipes, they're putting the snake through and they tear the ducting, right? And they're like, oh, well, now we've got to replace this section, right? I could see that as being an unforeseen situation, right? That you were doing. But I do see what Mr. Williams is saying as far as knowing if you're doing an HVAC full system upgrade, knowing the age of the system to begin with, that's a big thing to be an unforeseen.
and in terms of trying to provide the board information of, is this where does this fit in the change order in terms of standard business, or was something on that? I think we would have to bring back more information if you wanted, in terms of where does this one fall? You know, because again, it falls under, I can speak to what's in front, it falls under the percentage of potential that any project kind of is based, and when it's larger projects, there's that 10% is significant. It is a lot, but it is part of it. But just in terms of trying to find out more information for the board in terms of how this change order came about, we can bring that around, or
Well,
entertain any questions that are around. Understanding the kind of the thoughts that came to the board when they read this, like, hey, was this considered? Was this not considered? How did this change order come about?
Yeah, and I agree with,
That's what I'm thinking.
the president. You would think it would be, and someone to look over it and go, hey, they forgot to throw in the cleaning of the air ducts.
The one part I'll say is, I think that the board fully understands that it's falling well within the 10% of the allowable limit. But I think and I don't want to totally speak for everybody, but what I think that where we're all coming from is, I guess, just the accountability of, meaning that yes, there's 10% in there, and yes, we understand that change orders do happen, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they should just be a cherry thrown on top, or just an automatic, or, you know what I mean? And is there a way that we can basically either limit the amount of change orders or just make sure that when they do happen, that it truly is something that has been and should have been unforeseen? If we're okay with it, would you guys like to table it and ask the questions?
No, it's just when I read it and then I look at the other one and I look at the other one, I'm like, same thing.
The first two are. The last one is separate.
It's just a opposite. But, it's just like, let somebody think about, you might need to do that. And as big as that system is.
And just to give additional information to the board, it was overseen by Ledesma Meyer.
How was that one again?
Ledesma Meyer, the company.
We're the ones who did the initial contract as far as the write-up of what needed, the services that needed to be done in order to complete the work.
And then we got somebody on, I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say, my question is, has this already been done?
Yes,
Yes.
it has been done. It's being ratified.
Yes.
They've already done the cleaning, so,
Sure. If it's the point of, you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I mean, we're beating a dead horse.
Sure.
We're doing that, but also someone dropped the ball.
That
We should have somebody on staff that should have caught that. And I agree with it. I mean, I drove by, it's a great job.
Mhm.
And just like you said, it's, when you do anything with air conditioning, the duct is, most with environmental things and their allergies and, it's, even I know that. It looks like someone dropped the ball in our end.
That's the only thing I was saying.
And it just don't, be more careful, I guess,
Yeah.
Everybody's human. I mean,
If we want to proceed with it, then we'll take each one one at a time.
Yes.
So starting with K64, do I have a motion to approve for K64?
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
You're good. Okay, next is K65, change order, and this is for Lenwood, also for the HVAC. So do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the next one is different, so if we do want to open this, if you guys want to have discussion, is K66, ratify change order 09001. This is for the high school roofing.
And this one saved us
$7,000.
$8,000 almost.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but they added that into the installation of the roof. They didn't use it, so they gave it back to us. Just thank you. We appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Just in reading the document that's attached, it just says description credit for unused cash allowance. I don't know if they.
Well, it says that, but if you look at what it says, if you go through it, it talks about they didn't use it for the, and it said ducting, and I was like,
The
who would
agenda
come up with
item,
ducting? And maybe that's a misprint in when they printed the agenda.
I see where on the agenda item, it says under considerations that it says changes are due to the need of professional duct cleaning services for error
There you go.
as listed. Just in reviewing the document, it does not mention anything about, the cleaning of air. It says this is just for the, unused cash allowances. Based on this paperwork, I would say that, the consideration might not be accurate, it might be a misprint in terms of, less money for more work. I imagine that that's not how it goes. But in terms of this, that should probably be not on there, and the board can consider this as a change order specific for.
One of the things I cut on my, but it's a roof. But it doesn't say it's about ducting when you go in. Yeah. Yeah. Just caught my eye.
Does anybody have any additional questions or comments on this
Just
one?
really quick, you're saying K6 is K4?
K46, my apologies.
Oh, correct, yeah, yes, K46, yes. Okay, if nobody has any questions, or comments, then can I get a motion to approve?
I move we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Is that all of them for the consent, I believe, for the pulled items? Just a double check here.
Yep,
Yeah,
you're good.
I think we're
Good to go to
I think we're
discussion?
good to go.
Okay. And we will now move into the discussion items. L11, information, revisions to board policies and administrative regulations in the zeros.
Yeah, so these board items, the California School Board Association, sends out quarterly updates. And, the policy administrator, for the policy and administrative regulations, and, this is a information item for first read, I believe. And these policies are included in the June 2025 update. And we have several of them, for the board to, read and look through, some changes coming down the pipe. Basically, these are all drafts, before we actually bring them back to vote. Anything you want to add?
Sure, just in the 0000 section of board policy, district goals, objectives, and philosophy. Most of these are based on new laws that impact charter schools, so CSBA sent updates to our policies to make sure they're aligned with new laws. A lot of these are changes in language regarding court decision related to Title IX regulations at the federal level, changing, I think, to 2024 regulations and reverting back to the 2020, so having board policy reflect the court's decision, and then changes to the district technology and AI that Neil will be talking more about later tonight in that section. So as you're reading through those are the basis for most of the changes in the zeros section of board policy.
I didn't really know how, because I know like if you say like the 3000s or the 5000s, I was like, I don't really know how I'm supposed to say
If you come
that,
up with
so.
something, let me know.
Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on those? Okay, that's just information, so we don't need a vote for that one. So now we'll move down to business services.
There's one more.
There's one more
Yeah,
board
what is it?
policy.
Where am I?
Oh,
L22, thank you. L22, information, revision to board policies and administrative regulations in the 3000s.
So again, this is an information item presented to the board. And the information here, we have sorry?
They're in the 1,000.
They're in the 1000, yes. So we have the, board policy AR 1113, district and school websites, and then also UCP, the Uniform Complaint Procedures. And I think here we also have, we have 1312.3, we have 1312 Uniform Complaint Procedure, district and school websites. We have policy 1312.3, just updating the language, the verbiage in the uniform based on new court decisions. There's a Tennessee versus Cardona court decision. And then Dr. Williams, your office oversees some of those complaint procedures. Now, if you want to add anything else to the board. for
Sure, just like
information.
in the zeros, the Title IX changes with court decision. This reflects all of our UCP procedures and policies in terms of being compliant and responding to those when they arrive. And then the other one in terms of district and school website policy is mostly around new laws that state comes up with in terms of notification. So making sure that certain things are on our website as new requirements of the district come about. So these policies will reflect those changes to law and to new court decisions.
Thank you.
And again, it's an information act.
Anybody have any questions or comments on these? So now we will move to business services, L41, purchase order listing, June 24th, 2025 to July 1st, 2025.
Thank you. So this is the purchase order for June 2025. And it's, all the items are listed and it's a total of $5,521,000. And I can't read that, make it very hard. 118.80. Yeah, and I'll open up for any questions.
Anybody have any questions, comments?
Well, a lot of these are open POs, so
Yeah.
that's why you have such a high amount. Open POs for the for the coming year.
103 purchases, normal, purchase order for the school year.
Just a couple notes through that. This is the open POs for the year for electric, gas, water, trash and sewer postage, all the maintenance supplies, all the vehicle maintenance and fuel, some online translating services. And so sometimes when this PO number comes up, it seems like a spent number, but it's actually just an allocated number at this time. And so as those bills are being paid throughout the year, you'll see that reflected in the cash balance that's reported monthly, if not every meeting. But this authorizes the district to pay those invoices and bills as they come up every month. And it's also reflected in the most previously approved budget that the board approved.
Any questions? I have one, not on a specific PO item, but just as you're saying, they're all accounted for, it's already into the budget and all that. If and when we hit the end of the year and, however much from each of the different open POs, right? Does it directly automatically just stay in the general fund? Does anything move from that standpoint or?
So each PO that's there is for, each of them has a specific fund that it's attached to. So even though we say something like it's a PO for the use of electric throughout the year, that is paid for out of different funds based on where the building location is or different things like that. If we get to a point in the year where the PO is exhausted, if we're, again, that 10% rule is available if it goes over. If it requires a new PO or some sort of change, that PO will come again to the board for approval. If it's something that we believe is going to be ongoing, then it'll be reflected in the different budget presentations ultimately that are given to the board. So at first interim, second interim, and during the different actuals. And so if those things change during the year, those will come to the board in those two particular ways. If they are lowered, then that'll be reflected in the unaudited actuals that's presented to the board in September. And then if future budgets need to be adjusted, it'll be done in part of, again, that MYP and then in the actuals that were spent that year.
So if it, just so I'm clear, so if it's on the other end, like less, like we have a surplus at the end, it basically just stays in whatever the account is that it started from.
Yes, any account that has been, so, from the account side, we make this PO.
Yeah.
We say this amount of money will be spent during the year. It's earmarked and it's not spent unless there's an additional action taken. If it looks like something may not be used, then it can be reallocated at first and second interim.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And next we have Technology and Information Services, L51, BUSD Technology Plan, 2025 to 2028.
Thank you. And we do have Olive here to present.
I did come to speak.
Hanging out?
I thought you just wanted to hang out with us.
It's been knowledgeable. I've enjoyed it. So Mr. Godfrey did ask me to come speak regarding the district technology plan, 2025 to 2028. You should all have in front of you just a little presentation to summarize it. Instead of me going through the whole plan, I thought I would just kind of summarize it and go over it with you all. Feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. If not, we can go over it at the end. But again, summarize this plan. It's basically a strategic integration of technology to enhance education, equity, and security across all of our schools. So we go ahead and skip to contents. So an overview of this technology plan. Again, it is 3 years. I reached out for feedback at the IT department. I apologize. I didn't introduce myself. Neil Olling. I'm the director of TIS, the IT department for Barstow Unified. In November, I've been here 10 years. So I did reach out to EdTech specialists, which I will touch on a little bit if you're not aware of what they do. Principals, BEA reps, CSEA reps, miscellaneous administrators, and all of my IT staff. So let's keep on moving a little bit. So TIS, just to kind of give you an idea of our department, there are currently 12 of us. We are located next to facilities maintenance and operations off of Grimrock. So we have 5 what we call site techs. They're the ones who visit sites, go to the sites and assist. We just recently were able to get a reclass on 1 senior network computer technician who mainly handles integrations, which would mean do the rosters for teachers in their classrooms, so it's all automated, as well as website. There's been a need for somebody to specifically address website changes and updates and design. We have 2 network support specialists who handle network infrastructure and all of our servers. We also have 2 student information service technicians, which deal with Infinite Campus, which is our student information system, and they do all the reporting to CalPADS, federal, state, and county reporting. And then 1 IT assistant who just kind of helps with basic help desk support. We are considering, I've been working with personnel a little bit on adding a low voltage technician who can assist with intercoms, bells, clocks, electronic key door locks, vape detectors, and surveillance cameras. And I'll touch on some of these a little bit as well. So EdTech specialists, I basically consider them a liaison between classroom technology and the IT department. We don't always know what we are missing out on when it comes to technology in the classroom. So we meet with these EdTech specialists who are primarily teachers. We have 1 at each school site once a month, and they kind of bridge that gap for us to understand if and when we're missing something regarding technology in the classroom. This could mean, K2 students have a hard time logging into their Chromebook, so we provide badges that they can just scan on their Chromebook. It could mean their printers are down, basic stuff, Wi-Fi is down. But also when it comes to educational apps, just how to simplify them, how to connect them, how to do all the back end work for them so that they don't have to manually do as much as they have to. It just helps us understand what's going on in the classroom, and they're a great bridge between IT and the actual classroom. Once a month.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
With the app side, are we are the apps working, I guess, as they should? Like whenever there's issues, is it like on our end? Or are there any of the apps that like we're finding that their end, and you know what I mean? Because I know there's a certain point that we can fix, and then there's a certain point, right, that's on them. I by no means a specialist. I just know at least at a certain point, right, like that there's only so much we can do, or at least the apps that we're using able to be utilized for the most part.
So there's a couple parts to that. It's definitely a mix. We can run into anything from enough licenses weren't purchased to something on their end is down to even something that our firewall or our filters are blocking. A lot of these apps use like YouTube videos and they embed them into their platforms. And those YouTube videos are flagged as being something not suitable. So it's a mix, definitely. The other part of that is, which I'll touch on a little bit, is, and I'll try to keep this, simple. We use it's a company called ClassLink, and they are the ones that are kind of our central portal for students and staff. You log into one website, and then they have access to everything from there. So what we're trying to do with ClassLink is they have modules available that will analyze how much each teacher is using, how often, and it can also break down how much that app costs, so that you can get a kind of cost per usage breakdown, right?
ROI, yeah.
Right, and part of that too is, and this is on, I can kind of skip this later, but a lot of teachers go to conferences, Q or whatnot, and they come back and say, "Oh my gosh, I learned about this new platform. I really want it. I need it now." ClassLink, and we're exploring this now, is it has the ability to kind of track that and say, "Hey, you already have something in place that does what this other platform does. Don't spend the money on it. Inform them that this is available."
Okay.
So there's a lot, right? I hope that answers it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's go on to page section 6. So our infrastructure and network enhancements, we rely a lot on E-rate funding, which is it's basically funding from carriers like Verizon, AT&T, and Mobile that we all pay in an indirect way on our phone bills, on our cell phone bills. And we get, on our category 1, we get a 90% discount. And what category 1 is our internet access and our WAN connection. So our internet access is pretty obvious, right? You go home, you have to connect to the internet. Our WAN connections, our wide area network connections, is what connects all of our school sites together so that they're all one big happy family. Spectrum won both of these bids recently, and I hope you've noticed our internet outages have improved. We have neighboring districts that are still on a prior provider, and they have gone down, and we've stayed up. So I'm less stressed when it comes to internet access staying up. But our category 2 is an 85% discount, and it's what they call internal connections, and that's all of our infrastructure, our switches, our Wi-Fi access points, and our servers. So we get a heavy discount on that, and that's how a lot of our funding comes from regarding our network infrastructure. Our next section, 7, security and communication systems. I wanted to touch on our surveillance. We are currently adding or replacing our surveillance cameras at all of our sites. And I would estimate that we are at 75% complete. And our goal is to have it complete by the start of the school year. So there are still, Henderson is incomplete, Skyline is incomplete. The high school has a system, but we're adding and replacing and upgrading that. And Biz and the junior high are about 90% complete. So it's going to be one system. They're all on the same system. It'll allow a lot of functionality in that you can say, hey, can you trace a student who wore a red sweatshirt and had a blue backpack throughout the day? And it will come compile that footage for you. So it's getting rid of a lot of that manual, what camera are they at now? We're still learning it, but it's really neat in what it can do, right? Automation. The other thing we are working on are enhanced paging and intercom systems. So we just did the high school. What the system allows is for it to tie into other systems like surveillance and like alarms. So we don't have it fully implemented, it's a lot still, but what it can do is there can be panic buttons on the phones themselves. You can use your cell phone as a panic button. You can call from any desk phone and set off an emergency alert if you see a need to. The phones themselves, like this one here, it can blink. Yeah, right there is a panic button. We don't have a program for doing it because we have to navigate students learning this too. So there's just a lot of kind of intertwining functionality with all these systems, but our paging systems are really old. We're looking at Cameron and STEM next. I mean, some of these are decades old, 20, 30, 40 years old. So, yeah, that's a big project, but we're working on that. And then lastly on this section is just the installation of digital message boards. And there is, we're looking into ways to even tying into the message boards if there's an emergency, right? They can say something that the district desires to display to communicate to parents. So that's a lot, I'm trying to keep it short, but yeah, forward.
I did have a quick question on the surveillance systems with the information. Just as a check and balance, not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong, is the information when somebody's accessing the cameras and the systems in the way that you're saying, is that information tracked as far as what user is requesting what information?
Yeah, so it is tracked. It's all logged. The issue that we've run into is somebody with a cell phone directly recording the screen. From my understanding, an event occurred at the high school. And somebody who had access to the system took their own cell phone, recorded it to the screen and shared it that way. But without that, yes, it is all logged on who is looking at what and who's retrieving data and what. That was definitely a part we wanted. Yeah. To help try to get that.
I just have some random questions. It's kind of like relative to that. Will like campus monitors or someone be able to monitor the screens, like kind of like how you see like in the movies with like the mall security or something like that?
So part of the systems going in is most schools opted to have like a big display just for cameras. Some did not, but most will have, they're 65-inch displays that just have like a panel of cameras on.
I have one more. Like, are they similar to like our cameras at home? Like, can you speak to the camera like, hey, what are you doing? Or,
So there is no audio recording and there's no two-way communication. And that is due to privacy concerns and issues. So, but with that said, there are options. I know we've been having issues with our solar panels being, the copper's been stolen. So we can tie into these systems to have a speaker say, hey, vandalism alert, 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 a really loud speaker or even like a strobing light. So with these newer systems, there's options to expand and things like that. If that's what you're kind of thinking.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Or it's pre-recorded. Hey, please get away and stop doing other stuff.
So the new digital signs that they're installing at each school, this is in your laws.
So they were actually contracted out.
Right, for the installation.
Outside of, yeah. So we didn't have much say or input on it. We have just been in communication with the company on how we can integrate into it.
So aren't they supposed to be put up by school starts? That's cool.
Yeah,
That's what the plan is.
Okay.
yeah, I've noticed most sites, they're under construction. That's my understanding too, is.
Yeah, they're doing it at the junior high school. It's
Junior
like
high.
I see people out there working, then I don't see them for a couple of days.
Yeah.
And I think they moved dirt from one side to the other.
Yeah, I've seen that fence area.
I'm like, I'm waiting for the sign to go up.
Press line, I've seen them working on it. They did start with some schools that were easier to put on a wall versus, a stand or whatever you want to call it, mounting them out in the grass.
Yeah, that's what they're doing at junior high.
Any other questions?
Yeah, you mentioned surveillance. That kind of put a little here and here. I mean,
The big topic.
it's for safety and to protect our property, right?
Yes.
Is
Well,
it-
that's what it's going to also be for. Primarily, it started as, student incidents.
What's that?
It started for student incidents, fights.
Fine, shit, I got
But
that.
yeah, it's definitely vandalism, and anything, right? And I've just recently heard of the solar panel vandalism. That's got our department really thinking of how we can use these systems to deter. Because I guess we got a quote and it was very high from another security company. So they got our brains turning on how we can use these systems to prevent this vandalism.
And then also, as a former employee, I'm very cautious about using these to surveillance our employees. I'm very against that, and I know it's not kosher, and I just want to bring that up.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we do have options. If anybody is in a camera view where they can see their screen, it can be blacked out. So their screen is never recorded. So I think I see what you're saying in that it can be used to quote unquote catch an employee doing something, say tardies or whatnot.
Yeah, 20-minute break versus that, you know what I mean? I don't agree with that at all, with the vandalism and all that. I mean, I can remember when they first came out, and then half the time they couldn't find out who it was. And it was in a night camera, this,
And
motion camera.
we are experiencing that already. If it's night and they're covered up.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
They're not always smart, but sometimes they are.
Right.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you also deal with the solar panel arrays.
We don't deal with them. I've just become aware that they've been vandalized. They're stealing the copper.
That's a big thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just got us thinking, let's take the community track. We have 2 cameras here up on the district office. They're point of zooms where you can really see the track, and they have no idea these cameras are down there. So that's kind of our thought with the solar panels, right? Like, can we at least see who they were, what kind of vehicle they're in, something. There are also other options with loudspeakers and strobe lights, things like that. Hopefully we can get some lasers that take them down.
Yeah, because
We don't have that yet.
when I seen a couple months ago when they had the presentation for us of the cameras, and they're widening their view of the campuses and areas that weren't covered at one time. Now everything is, because I was at junior high school, there was an area, he said, we always had a problem with this area.
Probably the cave.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
And he said, now we got cameras. So,
Yeah, and our plan is to do an after action review. There are going to be spots that were missed, but at the same time, there's always going to be spots that are missed.
Yeah.
We'd have to litter the sites with the cameras. Students learn quickly. The first system that went into high school, they learned they can get away with it.
smart kids.
They are. A couple sections left. We are working on upgrading all of our multi-purpose rooms. We call them MPRs. Just to make sure the screen's brighter, large enough for the whole MPR to be seen. Improve the audio, make sure it's clear and loud. I went to the fine arts, they called it the summer school field trip. That was really nice to see. That was fun. They really engaged with the students. They had a nice, they used the lights and the sound. And, we're looking to have them all upgraded to something similar to fine arts. We're currently working on Skyline, STEM, and the junior high, which would leave Central High School as the only one that needs to be upgraded. All right, let's go to section 9, cybersecurity measures. Try not to bore you all, but this is what keeps me up at night. We continue to update multi-factor authentication. To explain that simply, that's when you try to log into your bank account and it texts you a phone code saying, is this you doing that? We do a lot of annual third-party audits. We get a lot of assistance from federal, state, county entities out there that audit our environment and tell us what we're missing. It's very informative. We try not to, I don't try to recall if we test the board, but we do phishing simulations where we send an email to everybody in the district. If you enter your account, you can get a Starbucks card, or the IRS needs you to check on this, enter your information, right? A lot of staff, they feel they're targeted, but the idea behind it is to just raise awareness on what to look for. Misspellings, weird email addresses, links that take you, you need to enter your password immediately, you need to pay this. We're just trying to raise awareness. We do get some kickback and frustration on it, but it's the best way to let everybody feel better.
I would say, I mean, if everybody's fine with it, and I don't know if this needs to be like an official item or anything, but I would be okay if you send it to me, or I don't know, like I said, I don't want to totally speak for everybody, but I mean, I think we should, if everybody else is doing it, I think we should do it too. I don't know if does everybody
What, the fishing?
what he's saying as far as putting it out with the employees, as far as I'm sure in some sort of a random fashion or something. Same.
That's, I agree, I support that.
Well, hey, I mean, you do get, I get a lot, we get a lot of stuff on our emails. So I called him one day and I'm like, yeah, you wanted me to do, you wanted to talk to me about something. He's like, it's in your email.
Right.
And the bad thing about it, I gave him my phone number.
That was gonna be my second point on that, is that there actually has been at least one person, if not two people, that have independently on two separate times. One was to contact Sam as far as a purchase for things to be that it was 100% not me. I mean, everyone did all the right things. The employee did the right thing. We all contacted not through, but was found out, so that whole incident happened. Like I said, everybody did the right thing, but people are doing this. And then like the other one that he's talking about. So people are actively trying.
Yeah.
It is out there.
Our student accounts are getting hit 100 times a day in bad actors throughout the world. Just spam every account they can find and try to log in.
Yeah.
And that touches on number 4, conditional access. We try to block
Yeah.
certain countries, Iran, Russia. They're always trying to get at it.
Yep.
And speaking of that, we, if and when we do a phishing attempt on board members,
I'm sending you my phone number.
We do have to let some staff know that we're doing it, because they're really good at immediately telling all the other staff this is not real. So that's good, right? We want that to happen, but sometimes we let them know, hey, leave this one alone. Let me see. Digital citizenship, I just want to review. We use and Jamie can touch on this a little if needed, a company called Common Sense Media, where all teachers go over just digital literacy and safety with their students on how to behave, how to look for people that are, again, being bad actors, exploiting them. It's kind of a scary online world out there, right? And it's also required, we collect a form saying that every teacher went over with their students for E-rate to receive our funding. basically digital literacy. Staff and student devices. All staff have at least a laptop. Most have a laptop and a desktop. Some have iPads, some have Chromebooks. So we refresh them every 5 years on average. Although it sounds like we might need a new one over there. So they do go bad. So student Chromebooks, we are at a minimum 1-to-1 ratio, and what I say with that is we have at least enough Chromebooks that each student has one Chromebook. Some schools have enough where they can issue some Chromebooks out. The high school, maybe I'm jumping ahead on this, they are looking at issuing a Chromebook to each student. And the thought behind that is they come in as freshmen and they're issued a Chromebook, it's theirs. And when they graduate, they keep it. And the idea is that it's theirs so they keep better care of it. They don't pull the keys off, they don't do a lot of things to it. I'm kind of excited to see how it goes. I've talked to other districts about it and it's gone very well in keeping Chromebooks from being destroyed. There's a lot of Chromebooks that are tampered with. 2 sections left. So classroom projectors, a lot of them are aging. They just need to be replaced. They're dim. There's new laser style projectors out there that don't use a lamp. They're much brighter. Gone to some classrooms and they're just very dim. I don't know if I'm old and have bad eyes or both, but I can't see them. To touch on our student information system, we're continually looking at ways, and I believe this has been brought up recently, on how to reach parents, especially because we need information from them annually. And with Parent Square now, we are looking at, we did this a bit last year, attending, the IT department attends back to school events. And we try to funnel parents through so that they sign up for Parent Square. Some sites had an incentive where they received a t-shirt if they signed up, and that worked really well. So I'm hoping we can get a lot of schools to do that again. Because once they have that Parent Square app, it just allows that two-way communication between the site or the teacher and the parent. So we're working on that. Lastly, just to track, and then the last page was kind of what we were talking about earlier with ClassLink, how it can monitor all these educational apps. It's been hard for us as an IT department to kind of keep up on how many there are. There's so many, and it's hard for us to be aware of, if they're overlapping. We have two. We're paying especially for two that are doing the same thing. And then I don't know if we're going over AI at all, but AI, we are currently working on policy. I sent a survey out to every staff person throughout the district. We got right around 100 replies. And it asked questions from how familiar are you with it? Do you think we need it? What are your concerns? What platforms do you know? And it's really across the board. So we're working on breaking that data down and providing training and policy for AI for the whole district.
The AI policy is in the drafts for.
Okay.
It was just
tonight. That was
presented
part-
here tonight.
Yeah. I probably went over, I don't know if I can bring it up separately, but.
With any of that information, is any of what is put out in there or anyone's concerns at all, like any type of confidential information? Just meaning, if we're about to make the policy to go over this, whatever they had to say would be could be enlightening for us to know.
Yeah.
By no means am I trying to get, if anybody put anything that's, confidential or doesn't want information shared, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's what we're navigating. So
Okay.
there are platforms. There's versions of AI. There's open AI and there's closed AI. Closed AI is kind of just closed to your environment, right? So we could say all of this information stays within the district. OpenAI platforms, take ChatGPT, the more you use it, the more it's taking your information. So we have to worry about personally identifiable information. Students putting in names, whatever, social security numbers, or staff, the same. So that's where it gets difficult to navigate. And again, going back to when teachers go to these conferences, they see these new tools, well, we have to kind of vet them to make sure that they're secure. And it's funny, I actually use an AI platform to summarize the survey results I got sent out. And it's really good. It was excellent. I mean, I wish I could have came up with that. But I used it to summarize their concerns, and then I used it to summarize how it would be useful for them. And that's what we're focusing on. How it can be a good thing and how we address their concerns.
I'm just wondering, like, from our perspective, could we know, even if it was like filtered through you guys, as far as like, say, like what the chief concerns are or whatever, if we could know what those concerns are before, is that, so then whenever we're deciding what we're putting in or not putting in to our policies, we're factoring in what all the chief concerns are? Is that something we could do?
I definitely think that's something we can do. And there have been San Bernardino County Center, SBCSS, I would say that they've vetted a lot of apps already. So has SITE, which is California IT and Education. It's a nonprofit. They've vetted a lot of these apps, and that their student data privacy, they've gone through their lawyers and in the whole process to make sure certain platforms are already established as good. But when it comes to concerns within the district, that's exactly what I'm looking to do, starting with that survey. And there are a lot of feedback saying we don't need it, it's not good, it's the end of the world, right? But that was what we need to address, because AI is going to be something that we all deal with and live with in some way. We call support now a lot of it, or go through a drive-through. I don't know person.
But wouldn't it make sense if we, if the school district did have a closed
Yes.
AI system?
Yeah.
That way, you know, it just feeding them. So you'll have it, it's all enclosed, and you know, don't have anything going on.
I think so. Yeah. So it's hard for me to be the AI guru because it's so new and I haven't truly spent hours and hours and hours in it. But yeah, that's exactly where I'm at too. Especially with the school district. It's better to go a little slow and a little cautious than just open the floodgates and have something go awry.
Yeah. I'm an expert at it now because I used it. I used it for the first time.
You can show me how.
I don't know. I just talked into my computer and I said, pushed the little button and it, I'm like, oh, I like that.
Like, that was easy.
So,
Oh, go ahead. I was just saying, I'm extremely not knowledgeable in AI, but just in a super layman's terms, if we hypothetically are only closed, or we say that we're only closed, is a student's and or staff member's ability to access open AI, would that just be something that basically like a website that we would block these websites that would allow the ability for that? Is that what that would look like?
Right. We would just block it as we can.
Okay.
But it's also like, you know, gaming websites for students. They just keep finding new ones. And we just keep chasing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept, but you're right, it can get way out of hand.
So I've been to some AI seminars where you can say, create 10 multiple choice questions in 5th grade vocabulary and tell me, and then with answers, and if the student gets it wrong, tell them why they got it wrong. And it in seconds builds up the whole thing. And that's just the beginning.
Well, I found out about it by accident because I was like, what does this button do? Oh, I can talk.
Crazy question, and I don't know, this may be going into a legal situation, I don't know. can AI block future AI, meaning like what you're saying, right? So then like, if I'm on version A123 and then A124 comes out, can it automatically like see it, recognize it, flag it, and then like,
So,
is that, I don't want to go down a
no,
rabbit
that's
hole.
an interesting, yeah, I get it. To touch on that a little, AI detectors are getting to the point where they can't tell. If you tell one AI detector to talk to another AI platform,
It doesn't know that it's AI or not. All right. I'll stop with the what ifs. Yeah, I know yeah, you can go down a rabbit hole. Thank you.
Any other, before we go down the AI rabbit hole?
Ooh, thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And this technology plan is presented to the board for approval.
Where are you? Right here, right here. Okay. Can I get a motion?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next we have personnel services. First is certificated L6A1, a public hearing for provisional intern permits or PIPs for educators for the 25-26 school year.
You public hearing?
Mhm.
That'll be a public hearing.
You gotta read the
Okay.
whole thing.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I was just waiting if he was gonna
If I
say
was paying
anything.
attention.
Not if you're paying, but normally you start.
Yeah, that's okay, no,
Okay.
public hearing.
So recommend the Board of Trustees adjourn to a public hearing to provide an opportunity for the board to receive input concerning the proposed provisional intern permits. It is 7:33 and we are adjourned to public hearing. Have any questions, comments? Okay, then it is 7:34 and we'll reconvene. All right, what's that?
I'll take it.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So just to present, this item is presented for approval, for the board. A diligent search was made and no fully credentialed teachers came forward. The two individuals understand that they need to complete the multiple subject C-sets in order to continue, with the next credential or continue employment with us.
So following a public hearing, recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the submission to the state of said permits pertaining to the specific California teaching requirements. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next is L6A2, a public hearing for educators employed in specific positions not fully meeting California credential requirements for the 25-26 school year. Recommending the Board of Trustees adjourn to a public hearing to provide an opportunity for the board to receive input concerning the proposed variable term waivers of California education codes for the educators listed covering California credential requirements. It is 7:35 and we are adjourned to public hearing. Going once. Going twice. CTE teacher. All right, it is 7:36 and we'll reconvene.
Yeah, so job advertisement strictly and no appropriate credential candidates came forward. This individual, Mr. Robert Sheldon, will be doing CTE welding at the high school. The requirement waived is the English learner certification. And the employee understands that he needs to complete that in order to continue with his credential and employment with the district. And it's presented to the board for approval. Thanks.
All right, so following the public hearing, recommend that the Board of Trustees approve the submission to the state of said waivers pertaining to specific California teaching credential requirements. The only thing I would add on it is I'm glad to see that that position and that program's coming back to the district.
There you go.
That makes me happy. Does anybody else?
Do we have, is it gonna be held the same location?
Yes.
Okay, so there's room there with the weight room and all that?
We have a really good candidate. He actually teaches at the college, so he's got many years of experience with
Right.
multiple types of involvement. I actually want to get my, go up there and see what they're doing. Mess a little bit with it, but
We
I'll
have,
probably go to the college.
we have received the equipment that we ordered for it, right?
I know that they were ordering it,
Yeah.
through the CTE program. They had that grant that would have funded some of that equipment, so yes. Yes, it was an order. I don't know if it's in there, to be honest,
Oh,
but.
yeah, that's all on the, I know
I can follow
we
up on
approved that a while back.
Mhm.
Make sure we got a teacher, but no equipment, so.
We'll make sure they have the equipment.
There you go.
Bring my own from home.
Okay.
If approved by the board.
With that, does anybody have any other questions or comments? Okay, can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next is L6A3, establishment of 2 certificated positions. Teacher, elementary, transitional kindergarten, TK.
Yes, thank you. So these 2 positions are actually going to ensure that we have programs that are appropriate to meet the needs of our district. It'll add another position at Barstow Fine Arts Academy and Skyline, which was the last school, is going to be the last school to receive a TK program. And with that, we will be meeting the mandate under the legislation passed in 2021. We will have TK at every school site, and it's presented to the board for approval.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Do we know as far as so with TK, I know it was something that from the state that we had to offer, but it's not, is it mandatory in the same way that K through 12 is? Or is it just obligated on our end to offer it and the teachers have the option to do TK?
So
Or not teachers, like the parents, right? So like if the parent wants to send their kid, do they have the option? Or is it like, cause I know kindergarten is where it starts to be mandated by the state. Is it the same way or?
So I'll turn it over to Ms. Fisher. She's got more knowledge of that, so.
It's part of our California Universal Pre-Kindergarten program, so it is optional for parents. That we have at our district level, that we offer a program for students. It's the first year of a kindergarten program technically. But as you said, kindergarten is where school technically begins. This kind of would take the place of a preschool program for many students. The way that the governor, designed the legislation, is that way our students in our communities are being offered a similar program to, their kindergarten peers.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it's great. I love the program. I was just seeing like where we fall and just thinking down the road as far as like, could we potentially end up getting a substantially larger, right? If it's not mandatory and we start, but then as soon as people start seeing it being instituted and they see it there, then are we gonna see like a, like an explosion or something after? Just trying to think, like down the road, so. But thank you for that information.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher.
So can I get or does anybody else, have any questions or comments? Okay, can I get a motion?
I move we approve.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next is L6A4, employment of certificated contract and hourly personnel for the 25-26 school year.
So this is for, can we skip one? Oh, sorry, my eyes are failing me already. So yeah, so this is the presented to the board for approval. These are some of the PIPs that you guys already approved and the STIP, and also Mr. Sheldon, who is the CTE teacher. So we wanted to have the public hearing first before we recommended employment to them, and it's presented to the board for approval.
Anybody have any questions, comments? No, sir. All right, then can I get a motion?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Classified, L6B1, establishment of classified positions. 1 nutrition services worker, 3, 5 nutrition services worker, 1.
Yes, thank you. So Veronica Calderon, Director of Nutrition Services. Director, is requesting an increase in, staff members to increase the fresh produce and options for students. So there's more demand to provide more services per student and, hence the need to increase the resources in her kitchen. And it's presented to the board for approval tonight.
Yes, the funding for this position, these positions are coming from where?
So, it says, Fund 13 cafeteria funds.
Okay. Now, you said, did you say fresh fruit and vegetables? What do you mean?
It's fresh, increased fresh produce and options for students. But they have healthy meals.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Didn't I hear they were eliminating that program at Department of Educational level?
As far as I know, not currently in the state of California.
Okay.
Or the same thing.
Yeah. Just caught me. Good.
Does anybody,
No, sir.
can I get a motion?
I move we fund the approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next is L6B2, establishment of 2 classified positions.
20.
20.
Oh, 20. There we go.
20.
All right.
Yes. So yes, these are actually TK positions. The current legislation in the state of California requires that the upcoming school year in the TK program, we have a ratio of 10-1. 10 students for every adult. So that means that we're going to have to increase the paraeducator support to meet the increasing needs in the school sites. So for example, if you have 24 students, which is actually the class size limit, we would need to have 2 a.m., 2 p.m., and the teacher present for a day. So that's why it sounds like it's a lot, but it's meeting the needs. We're exploring other ideas, potentially looking at other programs to see how we kind of shift some of the supports and resources, being that, we are struggling to hire paraeducators. So hopefully with the recruitment and the advertisement, the job descriptions under the TK positions, the paraeducator position, the TK will have a little bit more interest. And we hope to fill all those positions before the start of the school year. And it's presented to the board for approval.
You really look like you have a question.
I did. We don't have a clue what the numbers are for our.
So we can look at past enrollment and do projections. So on average, we have about 200 students coming every year.
For TK?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's what I wanted to hear.
if these numbers are based on analysis, we're gonna have to be very strategic and deliberate on how we place these paraeducators as the numbers continue to increase. Usually we start kind of low and then we start filling. Last year we had we had to kind of move some students around to meet the needs. So
Will we not have a program at Crestline?
we do.
Okay.
We do.
But
These
we
are
don't
add-ons.
need to.
Yeah, these are additional.
Okay.
Yeah, we currently have 10 positions that are vacant.
Yes.
In the books, so we're filling those right now. We calculate we need about 40.
Yes.
So we have some already that are filling those positions, plus the 10 that we already have approved, and these 20, we'll be okay.
So a couple questions with it. When we formulate all these positions, are we asking or is anybody interested, I guess, in being a full-time employee versus a half-time employee? I do realize that there is a cost associated with that, but at a certain point, if we are short,
Yeah.
on employees, then basically you would cut this list in half as far as the employees that you would need if we were flying them as full-time positions. Is that a consideration that we've even had?
So I'm glad that you asked that question because we actually ran the numbers, right? The cost, the cost of.
I know that's that's a
so
part.
It would be three part-time paraeducators to have one full-time because of the potential health and welfare, right? Because $25,000 travel. So we would have to look at 3.5 hours would actually be the same as one full-time.
On the cost side.
On the cost side. We have actually some that are full-time that we're actually going to be bringing up because of the 20-day rule that's coming up. Some of them, we were not able to fill some positions and they went over some language that they're entitled to a full-time position because of the 20-day rule. So we'll be bringing those to the board. They'll be covering morning and they'll be full-time in the classroom covering AM and PM.
And I guess if we do that, that was kind of going to be my question, is say that we were trying to get these 20 positions, but like Mr. Ortiz has said, depending on the position and everything, right? Like what we end up with is nowhere near what we have coming in. Do we have to change anything? Or is that just another approval, like that it comes to us, say like, hey, this person is a 3 point, say we hypothetically, we have 10 that we get hired. And then, they're all willing to do 20 and we don't get the other 10 or whatever, right? Is that like a simple process as far as just bringing it back to us at the next board meeting? And so long as we want to say yes, we can say yes. We don't have to like redo the whole.
It's not a difficult process.
Okay.
It's just a process.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a process, but that's phase B.
Okay.
Plan B for us.
Okay.
We have plan A, B, and C for this because there are a lot of paraeducators we need to hire. So,
yeah. I'm just trying to, at least if we don't get the best case scenario, that we have people in the classrooms to do the work as much as we physically can.
So the 3.5 hours a day.
Mhm.
And FD of full-time is 7.
They qualify for benefits after 4.
Okay.
So 4 hours is the threshold. Once you go 4 hours and more, then they qualify for the benefits, H&W benefits, which could potentially be up to $25,000 per family. So that would be the added cost, hypothetically speaking, not that everybody can qualify for that or actually buy into that or take advantage of that, but potentially that could be it.
So there's 10 kids per class, correct?
No, 24.
No,
That's the limit.
for TK.
24.
The 10 is the adult to student ratio.
Correct. So that'd be 10 kids. That's the way I'm looking
So
at it.
if you have 10
Maybe
kids,
I'm getting it. Why am I getting it wrong?
if you have 10 kids, you will only need a teacher, you don't need a parent.
So because you got 24, you need
Two
Two
parents
parents.
in the AM, 2 parents in the PM. Or if you have full-time, just 2 parents and you're done.
But basically, the way that the cost loosely is breaking down, if I'm understanding this correctly, right, is that basically cost-wise is that you're getting 2 to 1 as far as employee because AM and PM, right? But on cost-wise, you're paying 3 to 1. I'm just loosely, I'm not like stating to an exact dollar figure, but yeah, go for it.
I was looking at the numbers and I like that we have 20, and I just want to confirm that we still do a sub list, right? So if we can get to capacity where we do fill all these positions, there's actually a waiting list or like a list where the other pairs would be on, and they could be called in to replace for a day or two to sub out. So I just think it's good to have that.
I'll just say, I do know there's a cost to it, but I do talk to a lot of people. And just for future reference, there's a lot of people that, not that, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. There's a lot of people that I think would have a stronger ambition to be in the position if we offered full-time positions versus part-time. Like I said, I get there's a cost. I'm not negating that whatsoever, but I do feel like if and when we can put that in there, I think the value to the students would improve if we can do that.
Morale, it's workers, 100% right. Said everything Even better than I could have said.
But I mean, hey, if we can get 20, fine, you know what I mean? I'm all for all of them, you know, seconding what, you know, Ms. Gibbons is saying. But even if we can, like I said, opening more hours, I think the candidate pool, the number and the quality, I think would both increase if we could start getting more full-time positions possibly.
Personnel services will note that.
I don't know, the numbers just not adding up in my head. I don't know, for some reason, I'm blocked to these numbers you're throwing out. So, you have one teacher and two para. And you have 200, you're estimating 200 students. So that would be, what would it be?
Well, it's not an exact thing. Whenever I say it's not an exact, what I mean is that if you have 10 and under students, you have the teacher.
Yes.
But as soon as you have 11, but to 19, then you have the teacher and the para. Okay,
Right.
But then once you have between 21 and up, then you have to have the third person.
Yeah.
But you don't always get the perfect bang for your buck. Does that make sense? So like you could have, say, 21 students in a class. Well, then you've got to have that second para, but you're not getting 10 students for that para. At that point, you're only really getting one.
Right.
And that's what he's saying as far as having to play this shuffle game, right? Because we have to keep meeting the 10-to-1 ratio. But where do those students, right? Like, do we have, you know what I'm saying, 19 here? So we're getting a lot of value for that para in that 10-to-1 context, or are we more at the 21 side where we're getting very little? Does that make more sense?
No, but if, say for instance, you get 100 students that want to join the TK, you hire 20 paras, then what are you gonna do?
Well, we have to do an analysis, see where they are, what school site, right?
Sure, but
Because you, like you said, you might have 19 at a school site and 21 at another, and then you have to meet that ratio 10-to-1. Wherever that is, you have to meet that ratio, because what are the repercussions, Ms. Fisher, if we don't?
We're monetarily penalized.
They'll
We
collect
have to
money.
report, and it's by classroom, and we can't average by district. So it is literally
By
each
classroom.
Yeah.
individual classroom meeting those requirements.
Do you have a dollar amount for that? I think they threw some dollar amounts out there. If you just
Yeah,
report
it's like,
300, something like that,
yeah, it's astronomical.
like $300,000,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
So we have to meet that quota, and that's why we can't be under, we can't be over. No, we can be over a little bit. But fiscally conservative, we can't be over, right? But you know, making sure that we're strategic about it. How do we spread them out to meet the ratio, right? Okay, and it's I talked to Mr. Ortiz last week. We're gonna have to monitor those numbers like 3 or 4 times a day, and having close communication with open and continuous communication with CEC, Central Enrollment, to make sure that we're not missing the ratio. So
Yeah.
those, especially those first few weeks of school.
There's a lot of movement.
Yes.
Good.
I just also want to say that, I don't know if it's changed, but before, there was internal only application. So people can come into the district, right, become part of the family, even though no one wants to really see 3.75, but it's still a good opportunity for them to become a part, get acclimated, right? And then there's opportunities that come along that only staff members can apply for. So it gives them an advantage. Just want to say that out loud, even though we know, you know, you want full-time jobs, but there are some perks to accepting these type of positions.
thanks for the mention. I'm good.
Good. Everybody's good? Okay, with all that, then can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. L6B3, increase to work hours of classified positions, paraeducator.
Yes, thank you. So Jose Cruz, Director of Purchasing Warehouse.
No.
I'm sorry, am I the wrong one? Oh my God, I skipped it again.
I'm about to say, you're talking about a word.
I apologize. Okay, so we talked about increasing hours, right? Here it is. So recommend the Board of Trustees increase the hours for the classified employees that we have listed. The paraeducator at Barstow Fine Arts Academy from 3.75 to 7 hours, and another Barstow Fine Arts Academy paraeducator for 3.7 hours. These employees actually went over the 20-day rule. They're in a TK position and they're full-time employees now, if the board approves it tonight.
So, just so I'm making sure I'm getting this right, is that the ones that we just approved, those positions are future positions that we
Yes.
do not have.
They're vacant future positions.
The positions that we're talking, these two are actual people
The
that
people
we've
in
already
position.
hired and we're ready to put
Yes.
them into the
They're
classroom.
actually, they worked there last year. They went over the 20-day rule. They worked 20 days consecutively, and now they own the hours.
Gotcha. Okay.
So yes. And it's presented to the board for approval.
Does anyone have any questions, comments?
So moved, no,
No, you're good. If nobody has anything, go for it. Yep.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just trying to make sure I give everybody,
I'm
their-
trying to sneak it in.
L6B4, supplemental assignment, limited term substitute.
Thank you. Now, Jose Cruz, Director of Purchasing Warehouse, has identified the need to have a limited term substitute to support with operations in the office, and it's presented to the board for approval.
That one seems fairly self-explanatory. Anybody have any questions, comments?
We're adding a office assistant.
So this is a limited term substitute as an office assistant. He doesn't have an office assistant, and in order for us to have a substitute, you have to approve it because it's not a position that currently exists. So it's a limited term, and we're allowed to do that under the PC rules. Yeah.
But you just said substitute.
Yes.
Now, why is it limited?
Because if it would be permanent, we would be bringing to the board a new position for approval.
Steve.
So this is not a position that we want to fill. It's just a limited term for a specific a time, determined time.
6,000 worth.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move, we approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Items for future board meetings? Are you raising your hand?
Me?
Or anybody?
Yeah, next item I want to add Mr. Godfrey's name to give me a class. on there.
You're welcome to come tomorrow. Anytime we'll sit down and get the numbers.
Oof. Okay.
Open invitation to any friend.
I did want to bring one for next session as far as I think with seeing the presentation that Mr. Williams did with the school sports and with the funding, to look at where the money is coming from and what our end is, ours meaning the district. And I say that is, and this is my 2 cents, one person, but I kind of feel like if there's anything that's necessity, like it must happen in order for students to play sports, I kind of feel like that we should cover that. Again, like I said, that's I'm not speaking on behalf of all, it's just my personal thing, but so say like, referees, if they absolutely must have officials in order to play the game, I feel like that shouldn't, the students shouldn't pay that. I feel like we should pay that.
If it comes down to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't, like I said,
We always talk about student first here,
So,
I think we need to look at that.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, as an old athletic director, you have to move money around. And if you don't have to do that, it makes it easier. Who benefits? The athletes, students.
well, that's what I'm thinking is
Yeah.
if we paid that, then say that baseball thing that he was talking about, they would have that. The student, more practices
And
would be
it's
happening.
something that's really needed.
Things would be happening.
Yeah.
So,
And
yeah,
it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
You get batting practice, foul balls going all over the place.
Yeah.
You got a cage.
Yeah, they even have batting practice during track meet. Well, not anymore. Well, track practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're out there.
You know.
It's a safety issue.
It's a safety issue.
Yeah.
so just to
We will make sure we relay that information so that, the CBO can provide some more information. And the superintendent can present it to either in closed session or prior report, or even as an open session.
Whichever, however, we
Relay
need
that
to do it, but yeah, just something
I
that,
just got one, the kicking the dead horse again about the restrooms at Pitcher Park,
yeah.
they're out there right now. I mean, it's over 400 people.
Where are we on that?
That's what I'd like to know.
But we are somewhere. That I do.
There was supposed to be talk at the city council.
They did
City
have it.
manager.
I think one of the issues is what we have to live under and what they have to live under. Because they want to approve spending $30,000 to refurbish the bathrooms and make it ADA compliant, $50,000. But the numbers we have are totally different. And we
I
live
just
by the
don't see how.
slightly totally rules than the city does.
What's the price they have?
I think it was like $35,000.
Oh, that's not gonna.
No, it's not.
I don't wanna cut anybody off, guys, but we are going a little bit off topic. But I do agree that we should put it in and it should be something talked about, but we gotta agendize it first.
Well, I've said it the last
Yep.
3 meetings and
Yeah.
nothing's happened.
Well, thank you for bringing it up. Thank you. It is a good point.
I'm like, yeah, I've been waiting for it to come. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Any other items to bring up for future? No? Okay, can I get
Move
a?
we adjourn.
Second!
All right, all in favor?
Wait, do you guys have to go back into closed?
Do we need to go back to closed session?
I don't think so.
Just in case.
Not from this example.
No, I'm just asking.
No, nobody, no, okay. All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay. 8:04.
I have stuff for you to say, please don't leave.
All right, good night,
Got
sorry to
stuff
keep
for
it
us to
up.
sign?